James Bond and I love to get plastered. I bang heaps of bitches cause I'm a smooth bastard. I tell them I love them, then I fuck off back to London on my jetpack. That's how I roll. I need heaps of gadgets cause I carry a shit gun. After killing my enemies I like to make shit puns, like the time I asked this guy who was crushed by a milk truck, got milk as he died. Because I'm suave, it's okay for me to act like a prick. I like to fuck up the towns that I visit, then let Russian sluts eat my dick. Because I'm suave, you can suck it. I'll ski on your lunch if I want. Take a stroll on the heads of some reptiles, then act heaps nonchalant. I've slept with Dr. Quinn, I've been to outer space. If you try to fuck with me, I'll mess up your stupid face with judo. With motherfucking judo. I seem to get younger as I get older. I'm always being handed lots of important folders. This martini is shit house, it should be a lot colder. Hey bartender, you're a cunt. Before I go, I'll let you know the number of hoes I fucked like a pro. 839.
Hello and welcome to the Blackdog number 134. And it's just called Bond. That's about the most unoriginal title I could come up with.
That's it.
No, it seems like every time I put a swear word on the titles, iTunes basically rips it apart. So calling it cunt fanny batter spy man is gonna get us banned. So yeah, I'm Lee.
I'm Darren.
And we're joined tonight on a Black Dog podcast to talk about James Bond for the 50th anniversary, which unfortunately we've now missed because they moved it to October instead of November.
Did they?
Yeah, well, that's when Skyfall
that's it.
came
He
out.
can just pick up his birthday and he's fucking James Bond. He can move wherever he likes. I'll have it next year.
Yeah. Well,
screw you all.
Fuck you all. James Bond is 50 today, not
this
tomorrow.
Is it, in the ejector seat.
Fuck
Pew,
you.
Right over there.
But yes, we're joined today by two guests. First off, we're joined by Mr. Jim Moon.
Skipper doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Hello, folks.
Okay, we're joined by Scatman Carruthers.
Fanrific.
Damn it, stuck again. And then also we are joined by, let's get this officially right, journalist, author, paedophile, and academic, Danny Graydon.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure to be here, but I noticed there's not a lot of bitches around.
Yes. Say goodbye, Dink. Man talk. Slap.
It's great to be here.
Yes. And Danny has recently worked on the Taschen book, The James Bond Archives, I believe.
I have, yes. I worked on that earlier this year, and it came out last week, and it will cost you the princely sum, the reassuringly expensive sum, of 135 quid.
Fucking hell.
Fuck me.
Right, but I'm
World's
telling
most
you,
expensive doorstop.
It is an expensive doorstop, but I will say that basically, even if I hadn't co-wrote it, the fact is that I'd be all over it because Taschen books are fantastic and they are just real gold. It's going to be the Bond book to beat this year.
Oh, yeah. No measure of modesty in there, is
I'm fucking telling you, it is. Because it was a real thrill to work on, and because unlike all the other books, we were working with archive material from Eon that's never been in the public before. Cool. Yeah, it was a great privilege to do.
Excellent. Well, so we can work out why Danny's here then.
I'm not getting any royalties.
Yeah. But the other three of us, we're just here to press the buttons because basically, how much of us really know about Bond? But anyway, So before we get going to Bond and a bit of news, and I have found a shitty superhero. Which we can discuss.
We should have a shitty Bond villain, really, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
One from a fan fiction or something.
Oh God, no! Let's never go into fan fiction.
Let's go into fan fiction.
No. And then we'll discuss Bond, we'll have feedback from various listeners, and obviously we did have to pick a Bond movie to review. And through the scientific method of saying, what's your favourite Bond on the Facebook group? And then from the result, what's your favourite Bond film of that Bond? We came up with Goldfinger. So we're going to be doing a review of Goldfinger a little bit later on. But anyway, before we get going, let's see how everyone's week's been. Let's start with Jim. How has your week been, sir?
It's been a fun week.
Right.
Again.
Yes.
Firstly, I had the great pleasure of meeting Mr. Peter Kelk and his family, who were holidaying North Yorkshire.
Yeah.
So they dropped up here and we met for tea and scones.
Yes,
which was very nice.
Your photograph now is a bit like a Pokemon. You know, everyone's got to catch them all. Yeah. Everyone's got to be seen photographed with you. Cool. And what else?
Last night, I went to a local screening of Old Boy.
Oh dear!
Now, after doing Old Boy with the Black Dog, I did sort of like, I'm never watching that again. However, when my brother-in-law rang and said, local cinema club's doing Old Boy, do you fancy going to see it? You can get in for free.
Yeah.
I thought,
give it a go.
This would be a good film to see with an audience.
Oh dear.
Most of whom probably haven't seen it before.
Oh God.
So I was kind of
nice.
When we got to get to the pivotal scene at the end, I was most delighted by hands over mouths and audible gasps and the general shell-shocked look of everyone in the room when the credits finally rolled.
Why was there a reference to me masturbating to the to the sex scene? And then my subsequent humiliation and rocking backwards and forwards in the shower while the crying game played.
There's a few men in Max looking guilty, I'll tell you that.
Oh God, I love that. So, did the film stand up, sir? Do you want to ever see it again, or do you want to? I
enjoyed it a second time, but there was an element of sadism in there, I must confess.
Cool. Yes. Oh, and I've got a bone to pick with you, sir.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You see, it might be jumping to my bit first, but frankly, I went to the Roald Dahl Museum, which was lovely, but it had to drive all the way up to Buckinghamshire, which was a long way. And we drove back, and it was quite late at night. We were driving back, families in the car. We got this hire car, which last week we all heard Carol had basically planted in the flower bed. But I found that there's an iPod attachment for it. So I thought, well, that's brilliant. We're driving home. Everyone's asleep in the car. What shall I listen to? A bit of Jim Moon's Hypnobobs. I will listen to that in the car, driving home for an hour and a half. Brilliant. Fantastic. And then as Jim recounts the H.P. Lovecraft tale, the statement of Randolph Carter, I didn't realise, but Katie had woken up.
Oh, dear.
And so, as Jim's kind of going, and I went down into the depths of the darkest despair, and there's the guy talking up on the phone, I can hear this kind of sort of faint murmuring in the background. And then when finally the twist at the end, if for people who don't listen to it, and in which case listen to Hypnobobs 100, but... it ends with, spoiler, the monster basically
I
getting
can't listen
on...
to this because I haven't got to that bit yet.
Okay. Well, basically ends with a bit of a shock revelation and Jim doing his best monster voice.
Oh, lovely.
At which point, Katie started screaming. That was around about Clackett Lane Services. 35 minutes later, she's still going, I don't like the story, I don't like that man. His voice made me scared of the story, I didn't like it. Then for another 25 minutes, getting her into the house. Then for another 25 minutes, getting her to bed. So by about 20 to 10, she finally went to sleep, terrified of H.P. Lovecraft. Thanks to you, sir. Thanks to you.
Oh, I wonder what that child services vehicle was that was outside your door.
That's right. Social services are coming to take me away.
Yes.
So there you go. So that was just a quick jump ahead for me because I just had to just take that up with you, sir. You should have a bloody 18 warning on it now. I'm going to sound like some of those
It does have an explicit tag.
I was going to say,
responsible parenting.
Did not the sort of like the name H.P. Lovecraft sort of like kind of give something away there?
Yeah, but I thought she was asleep. This is that whole thing about being in the Midlands.
But
when
it's all right to do the subliminal
activity...
horror stuff. Yeah. So like that it invades their dreams. Oh yeah, wonderful. Well done.
It's like those guys who took the kids to see Madagascar and got Paranormal Activity 4 and then sat there through the credits to still watch it before realising how shit it was and going, ah! But there you go. Moving on.
I'm quite impressed. Lovecraft has the power to scare the jaded children of today.
Well, yeah, it did rather well, actually.
Jim, the way you read things out, I think if you read Delia Smith's Guide to Cookery, that would scare them.
Yes.
And then I beat the egg. And I beat the egg. And again and again.
I kept beating it until it was no more.
And then I fried it.
Till the
Serves fall.
Till the cheese turns golden crispy. But anyway, moving on. Mr. Graydon, how was your week?
Well, I've been staggeringly busy recently. It's been quite a stressful time because a relative of mine who died last year. He was from the north of England, and there's just been some stuff that's come out about him after he died, and that's actually been quite stressful to deal with because but when we were younger, he was quite famous on a TV show, and he got me on. It was a bit of a family favourite, and he fixed it for me to milk a cow while blindfolded, which and I'm just getting a little bit tired of hearing people criticise him. It's very, very, very upsetting. Anyway, aside from that, I mean, I've been very, very stressed, and one of the ways I've been dealing with it is what was it, that Chinese thing with the needles? What's that called?
Acupuncture.
No, heroin.
Oh.
Heroin. Sorry, yeah. So that's that. But no, in terms of work, I have been staggeringly busy because the current book I'm writing is all about the mobile video game Angry Birds.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, which is which has been interesting. I'm not, as you know, Lee. I'm not a massive gamer, and it's been quite an interesting experience doing it. I've been watching a lot of Blu-rays recently. I had a bit of a splurge on Blu-rays, and I have been going through the Bond set, which is fantastic.
Yes. Great, good one.
I have obviously got Indiana Jones, and I haven't looked at any of that yet. But I'm waiting till I finish the book, which will be tomorrow, and then I will watch Raiders,
nice.
and balance my lovely cup of tea on the fourth disc.
Nice.
Wonderful.
So that's going to be important. But Lawrence of Arabia is coming out, so that's really, really good.
Yep.
And you know how a couple of weeks back we spoke about Prometheus, how the it's the Blu-ray 3D that has all the extras.
Yes.
Now, I bought this. Right.
You.
No, I know. No, I bought it. I bought it. Now, for all the listeners out there, I lecture at the University of Hertfordshire on digital animation, right? I'm not a practitioner like Lee. I teach history and context. And basically, I use a lot of this stuff to show my students. So when I had my seminar last week and I showed them the section of this, all the students turned around and called me a cunt for owning this film, which if you work in higher education, is a very sobering thing.
Well, that's okay because it saved me doing it. You double dipping bastard.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I did watch it again, and I literally hated it even more than when I saw it.
Yeah.
So you've seen the extended cut now. Is that right?
No, I don't. Is it? It's not an extended cut.
I thought that was on the actual
3D one is.
Yeah, is it Blu-ray?
Okay. Well, I haven't come across that yet, but I just remember that it looked very pretty. But I still maintain that the last 7 minutes just undermines every Alien film going. And it's just execrably poor. So yes, that's a bit of an upsetting thing I had to do. And obviously I received the appropriate amount of abuse from my students, which is great.
And now that you confessed it to me and to all the listeners of the podcast, guaranteed you'll be getting more.
Yeah,
exactly. And also as well, I put up a picture of my Blu-ray collection on Facebook, and I'm always waiting for Lee or our friend Dave King to mock me mercilessly because they're saying like the Star Wars set is just out of shot.
Yes,
which is total bullshit because I don't own it.
Yeah,
but no
right.
one, but no one
stole
believes
it, didn't
me.
you?
Yeah, I did. Well, obviously after the whole thing with George recently, I said, look, for fuck's sake, you can't even be bothered anymore. Just send me one, will you?
Came wrapped in a Disney Store bag.
It did. With a signed porcelain rendering of his scrotum.
Chimbollock.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my week. It's been quite action packed, but yeah.
Cool. Well, there you go, Darren. You got a lot to fill. Come on. Can you follow that up?
Not really. I did go and see Skyfall this weekend.
Oh, for Christ's sake! Yes, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
I take it we've all seen that now. Is that correct?
Yes.
You haven't, have you?
No, I couldn't get in. I couldn't get in to see. I went to 3 screenings and they were all sold out.
You should have come to our one. There were plenty of seats.
Well, yeah, okay, I know what I'll do. I'm standing outside the cinema. I can't get in. I know. I'll call up my DeLorean and go back in time to when Darren went to see it.
I went to see it this Saturday.
Yeah. And when did I go looking for it?
When did you go looking for it?
Sunday.
Sunday?
And then Monday.
So, oh, right, okay, because there were plenty of seats on Saturday night
I
at
didn't fucking
Cineworld.
know.
Well, I tell you what, we won't do any spoilers though. But I tell you what, I've been really impressed by is that the UK box office for Skyfall has gone over 50 million.
That's
right.
Fucking impressive.
That is a third of the production budget, and if they have that momentum around the world, I think that Skyfall will break the 597 million tally of Casino.
Yeah.
Which will make it the most profitable Bond film ever. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And it's rather sobering to realise that just in UK sales alone, it's made as much as the entire budget of Judge Dredd.
No, I mean I loved it. I think that it's a really good 50th anniversary celebration.
Yeah.
And actually a lot of people had issues with it in terms of and I won't be spoilery here, but sort of the third act.
Oh, time out.
I'm not going to say anything, but one of the things I really appreciated about Skyfall is it actually was more Fleming-esque.
Okay.
And that's a really, really big positive, I think.
Okay, cool.
Right. Well, here we go then. I went and watched Skyfall, and I have to say, while it's a good movie, it's definitely way better than Quantum of Solace.
Yeah. Question of sport.
I'm sorry, but there's just the. You see, what I liked about the Craig Bond, okay, is the fact that he really didn't rely on any gadgets. He had one gadget in Casino Royale, which was the defibrillator in the car. Okay, and the cheese factor was really quite non-existent. In this film, you can almost cut the cheese with a fucking samurai sword. Plus, the gadgets start creeping in, and it's like there's one particular thing that shows up in it that's like old Bond that was, while I sat there smiling when it kind of did its thing, I thought it doesn't fit in this film. It doesn't fit in Craig's universe because it's...
Okay. I know exactly what you're referring to.
You know the thing I mean, Danny.
I know exactly what you mean. And in fact, in that moment where it's quite a heavy nod to classic Bond, it actually, at that point in the story, felt a little bit out of place.
It did, didn't it? It was just...
Is it a magazine called Pussy Galore?
Yes.
It is, yes. It is. So you have seen it. You have seen it. No, I thought that, you know how in the way that in the Die Another Day 10 years ago was literally just like chuck the kitchen sink in.
Yeah.
And I think they have more subtlety here. But that one moment that you're referring to was just a little bit out of place in terms of where the story had got to. But I mean, the thing was that I loved it.
It was still great. It was still a good movie. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I could see there were bits of the Bond that belonged. It's the lines. Some of the lines. It's the interplay with his interplay with female characters. It's just. It was like, oh God, we're going back to the old ways again. Can we not go there? Can we just carry on improving on the thing that Daniel Craig is? The whole Bond world as it is now. Can we just travel on that road and not slide back to bloody Roger Moore or anything like this? It just felt like that.
The one thing I did actually note in the film that was actually, it was okay. I didn't think it wasn't It was that Craig is starting, not overtly, but starting. He was kind of looking his age, right?
He is, yeah, he is. I mean, you see those scenes from, was it Casino Royale? You see him as he is in that.
Yeah. And that kind of reinforces my belief that they really capitalize on Craig now and give him, like, you know, what we might call a core Connery legacy of 5, right? Then I think that they absolutely need to do one by 2014 and 2016.
Back-to-back job.
No, I don't. Well, I know for a fact they're not doing it back for back.
Really? Because I just intercept here because I obviously haven't seen the film. But last week, Jim was saying that the news was that there was a writer who was going to do. What was it, Jim? It
was John.
A two-story arc.
Yeah, a two-story arc.
Yeah, well, that's John Logan, who's the co-writer. He did Gladiator
and Star Trek Nemesis.
But the thing is that a friend of mine and Lee's actually, Damien Townend, who edited the Skyfall trailers and whose grandfather, in fact, worked on the Connery Bonds, and Damien actually got his start in the business by being a runner on GoldenEye. So he's like massive Bond fan. But he basically had lunch with the first assistant director of Skyfall. And, you know, they said that there's absolutely no way they'll do them back to back. And it makes sense simply because to actually do that, you'd need to have a budget of at least 250 million.
But if Skyfall makes the money that everyone's predicting it's going to make, that won't be a problem.
I don't think there's going to be a problem with the amount of money it's raking in.
It's too much of a risk to say that because it's like, you know how every Bond film has quite a good array of location work, right? So it's not like you'll be doing it just in Britain or whatever. You'll be like visiting 4 different countries and like 8 combined. And I think that logistically that would just be too much of a problem. It would just be too expensive. Because I mean, even though Bond films historically, they're like the golden goose, like none of them have ever lost money. But I think the reason why that works is because they are, mostly sensible about the production budgets on them.
Yeah.
And I think it would be too much. I mean, the thing is that Skyfall was 50 million down from Quantum, which is astounding when you think Quantum cost 200 million, but it did.
Yeah. Well, they needed to buy a new dictionary just to make the title.
Exactly.
But anyway, before we carry on with Skyfall and obviously we move on to Bond, Darren, do you want to finish off your week and then we'll move on to some news?
Just one other thing. After I went to see the film, don't mention the name.
No.
Myself and Laura got invited up into London by Mark Chang and Chris from
the Convention
of the Dead. So we went up and joined them, and there were a few of the other cast members up there. And we went to Brick Lane.
Yes.
And, went into this bar.
Yeah.
And it was like, imagine like you've got a truck that's Mad Max 2, right?
Yes.
And you've got another truck that's full of hipsters, right?
Oh, dear.
Crash those two together headlong, and that was what it was like.
Lord Humongousaur's pub of cunts.
It was, yes. Well, that's what it seemed like, right? I'm not joking. It's a good job I had people there to talk to, because if I'd been there by myself, I would have been standing there screaming at people. It was that, the pretentiousness was that much. It was like, you've seen those Nike adverts where they had the people in the house party with like all the funny furry hats on and shit like this, and they're supposed to be really cool because they've got their jeans round down by their ankles.
Oh, God.
It's that kind of thing.
Did they, as you walk in, did they measure the thickness of your horn rim glasses?
Something like that.
Nice.
I did actually work out, looking at all the people there, it's like, trying to be cool, right? The cool ones all had like really sort of straight faces, no smiles.
Yeah.
So I figured that the more miserable you are, the cooler you are.
Right.
So somewhere at the back of the bar, there's like a group of people crying over beer. That's how fucking cool they were.
Cool they are.
Exactly.
That is fucking cool.
That is fucking cool.
But then again, given how miserable you were in being in there, you were probably the coolest one of the lot.
I was so fucking rock. I was just like, I'll tell you what. It was like, I must have.
You were
I know
Vanilla
what.
Ice. You were that cool.
No. It's even better than that. I felt like the undercover CID bloke.
Right.
Sat in a bar trying not to look like an undercover CID bloke. That's what it felt like. It's like I am far too fucking old to be in this place and far too fucking uncool with my Primark jeans
Yeah.
and my cut price British Knights trainers. You know,
No, but that's maybe it. Maybe that's why they let you in.
maybe that's
Maybe
yeah.
Primani is the big
Yeah,
thing.
maybe I'm so uncool. I am so cool. That's it.
You've done a 2001. You've gone through the Stargate, out the other side, and evolved.
But you know what? Apart from all the pretentiousness I got
Yeah.
hit by when going in, I must admit the people that I actually did talk to in there were very friendly and
All cunts.
no, not all of them, not all of them.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah.
It was like there was this old bloke walking around. He's got like there's an old bloke with a ponytail, right? It's
Right.
just like on a bald edge, you know. It kind of looks a bit wrong. It was like Danny DeVito from bloody Twins. So
Right.
and he's got this like big hat on, and he was just walking out the random people and just saying stuff to them, and they're looking at him was like, what the fuck?
But that's kind of pretentious wankery. It's like, hey, I'm being profound, but I'm just walking up to you and saying, dog cheese.
I
Yeah.
did feel like walking up there.
Like, fucking what?
I did feel like walking up to most people and saying, you don't know what this fucking tune is they're playing on this fucking stereo, do you? Honestly, you're not
Back
in your
in
head
my
to, but
day,
you've
it was
got
number one.
No
It was Rick
fucking
Astley.
clue.
Was it Rick Astley?
It could have been. It could have
Together
been like,
forever.
you know, the Java coffee remix of Never Gonna Give You Up.
Was it
Scatman remix.
was it Jimmy Savile's personal assistant?
It could have been.
Yeah.
I did see some cunt sat at the back in a bobble hat as well. It's like, what? Dude.
Well, do you know what? Do you know what? Right. I mean, at the university, basically, you get a lot of the students, right, and it's all very, very cool.
Oh yeah.
Because they're all media students, so it's all about your Levi's engineered jeans and your fashionably scruffy Skrillex style wonky haircut.
Yeah. Your big baggy fucking hat.
Exactly, and your T-shirt with the the Cadbury's cream egg logo ironically emblazoned with the words "dick toy slut" and things like that, and so yeah. But it's just, I have to drill into them that listen up, cunts. Basically, if you want to be a professional, just fucking dress properly, will you?
But Danny, these people are salt of the earth, the common clay. Morons.
Yeah. So I feel for you there. Yeah. I know. Sorry, when I say I feel for you, I mean
You're laughing.
Not the Stoke Mandeville.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Oh dear, I think I've just renamed this podcast. I think it's called Fiery Speedboat to Hell.
Or you could call it, you could either call this episode, instead of Bond, you could call it Bitches, or you could call it Leeds Infirmary on a Saturday night at 2 a.m.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the news.
You don't want to talk about your weekend then?
No.
No, he certainly doesn't. That's sealed evidence.
Hey, we're gonna hear some news now.
Oh, fucking God, they won't stop talking about Star Wars news now. Right, okay, so, Star Wars Episode 7 news. It's only taken about 10 seconds for about 1 million different official news sources to appear out everywhere. But apparently, and this is a collation of them from Entertainment Weekly, Collider, Badass Digest, Chud.com, Ain't It Cool News, superhero.com, and all these other places. And Deadline as well. And we go through them. It will start off with Harrison Ford apparently is open to the idea of doing the movies. He's upbeat about them, about doing all 3 of the movies. In fact, it's actually been rumoured by EW staff that it's actually all 3 of the original cast members would like to come back either as cameos or full roles. So, Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford coming back as older versions of themselves. That's your first rumour. Second run is fans were disappointed today to learn that Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy will not be making its big screen debut. So it will not be the Thrawn trilogy. Entertainment Weekly, once again, said that the original idea, as I understand it, and Lucas changes his mind off and on, is that there were going to be 3 generations of movies, 3 generations of Skywalker. You have the original trilogy, then you go back to Luke's father, find out what happened to him, and now, presumably, in the 7th, 8th and 9th film, there would be Luke's children. The Thrawn trilogy wouldn't really fit into that gap. Yeah, and then, next, hold your tongues, guys, because there's lots of this stuff. The next piece of apparently insider news is Matthew Vaughn, who dropped out of directing X-Men First Class Part 2, is now apparently on the slate to direct Star Wars Episode 7. That's if he can actually stay bothered to direct it, because he will just drop out again. Apparently, Vaughn's name isn't the only one flying around Hollywood, according to First Showing website. Apparently, there's been a number of Hollywood insiders saying that the director for the new Star Wars film will be a woman, leading to rumours that it would be Catherine Bigelow. But there you go.
Bullshit.
Yeah, apparently. Anyway.
Hold your tongue, Graydon. Hold your tongue.
Sorry.
Anyway, then another one from theForce.net, always a reliable source for Star Wars news.
Come on, Lee, give them a chance. They're relevant again.
Yes, I know. They kept that site alive through the dark times.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as the last 25 years. But anyway, apparently they've seen drafts of a story draft, which also involved Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Princess Leia, C-3PO and R2-D2, and they've been assured by one of their insiders that Mark Hamill is a lock for an Obi-Wan Kenobi-style appearance to lead in a new generation of Star Warriors.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway.
I believe their inside source is a battered E.T. bean doll. And the pictures they saw were formed in jizz stains on them.
No, is that all the rumours?
Well, the last one is that finally somebody who knows somebody at Lucasfilm, again this is from Force.net, says the writer and director have already been selected, already been hired, and the production of this film has been going on for nigh on the last 12 months. But not only that, but they've also said that, hold on, where are we? I've lost it now. Not only that, but apparently the script draft thing that's been in production with the writer and director that's not been named, apparently, is set 50 years after Return of the Jedi.
Can I start?
And I'll just say one last one. One other person has said that they saw Christopher Nolan going into the ranch.
Oh God! This is so awful. This is I'm just grinding my teeth.
And 3. Oh, now I feel like the Joker. I'm kind of just got my hands up in the air and I go, and go.
For fuck's cunting sake, right? I'm sorry. So much of this is just utter bullshit. Now, let's break it down, okay?
Right.
Now, it's entirely likely that this has been in pre-production for quite some time. Now, there's a rumor going around that a Disney production with Brad Bird and Damon Lindelof called 1952 is in the code name for Episode 7. Now, that may or may not be true, right? Because I mean, with J.J. Abrams, there's certainly been productions of his that were shrouded in secrecy for a long time. Mm-hmm. But the Christopher Nolan thing, I got to fucking bite that one because it's like, sorry. That guy, right? Christopher Nolan is talented, right? He's fucking done his studio dues, right? Fuck, would he? I mean, I love Star Wars, but I mean, obviously, with reservations. Yes. But I mean, why the fuck would he take an artistic step back and go and do Star Wars? I mean, what a waste of time. Yes. I'm not saying it's a shit job for a good director, but it's just it's such an awful match. It's just not his film style at all.
No, it's pure fan wank, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I don't think this has got anything to do with making Star Wars. I think that Christopher Nolan had to be passing nearby. He got a flat tyre, couldn't find a garage, and noticed the ranch over there. So he's just popped in to see if George has got a spare. That's all.
and the thing is that people are talking about story drafts and stuff. I mean, can you imagine, right, how many story drafts that are in the Lucasfilm archives? I mean, there must be hundreds of them because I mean, there was 16 years between the two trilogies, and they were clearly working on stuff, in all that time. And I think there's a great deal of material. Now, I do honestly think, as a veteran Star Wars fan, as we all are. That I do think it's a shame because I think the Thrawn trilogy is fucking brilliant, but the opportunity to do that would have been probably in the early 90s. Sorry, the early 90s if they were going to do that. But there is a Dark Horse series called Legacy, I believe, that's about a Skywalker called Cade, Cade, which is I think it's Luke's grandson. So that's set a century after Jedi, but a lot of those comics, are pretty crap. And I just think that whatever they'll do, fine. But I think the biggest issue I have is that a lot of these fanboys, they're all so happy, and it's really good. It is really good, but I think we have to learn lessons from the past, and that if you thought the prequels for you, right, there's no way. Then they were making them for 30-something fanboys, and you can be sure as fucking, as eggs, that they're not going to make them for 40-something fanboys. It's just not going to happen. Sorry.
No.
So if you understand that, you'll save yourself a great deal of pain.
And other gentlemen around the table, Mr. Moon, Mr. Barnard, what do you think of these rumours? Do you think there's any validity to them?
Jim, I'll let you step in first.
I think it's complete cock, and they should go back to Ewok fucking.
Wow, Jim, I do believe you just spoke my mind.
Psychic connection. Welcome to the Psychic Clock hotline here on the Blackdog podcast.
I don't know. Was there a lightning strike when we were having a beer? That it kind of connected us some way.
So I'm taking it you don't believe any of this stuff either, Darren.
I think it's a load of old cunt. It's just, it really is. It's just, I mean, it's not, oh, fucking hell, just leave it alone. I know you're really all excited about the fact that there's a new Star Wars film. There's an awful lot of potential there. We don't know what Disney's going to do with it. I'm willing to just let them get on with it and see how it goes. I mean, there's things I wouldn't mind seeing, like maybe, Old Republic Sith War or something like that. Take it 3,000 years into the past. Show us the early Sith Lords.
Yeah.
Something
You're
like
going back to the
really
sort of Old
nasty
Republic games sort of stuff.
Depraved Sith Lords, something like that. Something...
You just want some hentai with lightsabers. That's all you're after.
I just want to see people getting sliced in fucking two, that sort of thing. Let's just fuck the kids, just go 18 with it, and let's just go for it. People losing eyeballs and shit like that. Paul Verhoeven, get him in to direct it. Fuck him. Just do it. Showgirls meets Star Wars and RoboCop. Fucking get it all in the fucking mix there. Go for it.
I do honestly think that Lee had it right. Is that a lot of this Star Wars rumor mongering, it sort of brings out the worst aspects of internet fan culture. That you got all these people coming forward with their reliable sources, but as you pointed out on Facebook, is the fact that none of these fuckers, these people who they're so insidely. I mean, they are so inside.
They're so inside. They're wearing George Lucas's appendix as a fucking hat.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I was going to say that these are insiders. They're plugged into the Matrix. I mean, they're not just flies on the walls. They're so fucking insidely that they are practically Kathleen Kennedy's tampon. I mean, that's how
that story you came out with earlier on about those guys seeing the sketches, and then they said one of their insiders said this is true. It's like somebody saying to me, look, they're having the Death Star again in the next movie. Look, see, we've got this picture here, okay, and you see that bloke standing over there by the petrol station. He's confirmed that's true.
Yeah.
That's what it is, basically. It means fuck all. It really does.
It's very, very stupid, and I think it's just attention seeking. And if these guys were really insiders, then how come, the announcement of Disney taking over Lucasfilm just took absolutely everyone on the planet by surprise? Exactly. Nothing leaked out at all.
We all did a Scooby-Doo moment there.
Yeah, everyone went blah, blah, blah. And I mean, not only that, but Disney pulled out hey, by the way, and Star Wars 7 2015, thank you very much, May the 15th. It's like, what? okay, so not only have you bought Lucasfilm, but you've actually set a date for a movie, which means it's been in pre-production, which means it's going ahead, which means... And none of these insiders fucking knew any of that shit was coming. No. But apparently it's been going for ages, so, you know, now all of a sudden everyone's, oh, I'm an insider, I knew all about this all along. And you know what? If you really want something really funny, go to the original internet troll for all Star Wars news, the guy called Super Shadow. All right.
Right. Okay.
Go onto supershadow.com, right, and read some of the shit he writes as supposedly an insider, and he seems to think that claiming that Star Wars 7 was going to happen back in 1998 is a victory for him because he knew all along.
Oh, it's ludicrous. I mean, I have no doubt that it's in pre-production, and it has been for quite some time. I'm sure there are treatments for the trilogy, no doubt about it. But I think, you know, there's every reason to be hopeful about this. Of course there is. I don't think we should dismiss it just on that fact, because, you know, George has given up, which is great, because I think it needed to happen.
He gave up back in 1999.
Yeah. Well, I've got respect for the man. I think we all do, in the fact that he created this universe. But I think he just sort of like faded away with the interest.
Yeah.
And that, you know, it does need new blood. It needs a new set of eyes on it. And I think it could be great, but I just feel that, you know, those films won't be for us.
No.
And so, you know, you have to take a step back from them, and that really the future Star Wars films are just, you know, it's for, you know, kids now. And, you know, so yeah, it's mainly bullshit. It's absurd, and it's just attention-seeking fan wank. But I'm sure we'll start hearing stuff soon. And you know, if Luke Skywalker came back as sort of like an Obi-Wan kind of thing, I'd be cool with that. I mean, you know, obviously I am a bit of an insider myself, and I can actually say, and this is an exclusive for the Blackdog, is that no, I'm serious. Carrie Fisher will be returning. But not in the role you might think. It's just that her vagina will be playing the Sarlacc pit.
The Blackdog podcast is not associated with anything to do with Danny Graydon or anything.
I was going to say, when do we reveal to Danny that our special surprise guest is actually Carrie Fisher?
Oh shit! But yes, no, I you know, obviously that was very, very rude and insensitive of me, and I think we should have a moment's silence now, just to. There we go. Anyway, so yeah.
Oh well, here, just one last thing before we move on, move away from news, because really there isn't much in the way of news. I will read you the latest update from Super Shadow. This is brilliant, right? Apparently, he's got it all listed down here. I'll read it out. Over 30 years after the events of Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi, the Galactic Empire now no longer exists. The Rebel Alliance created a new Republic, and Luke Skywalker has established a new Jedi Order. In Star Wars 7, the movie opens with Lando Calrissian's Cloud City in Bespin. This enchanting city has been transformed into a Jedi temple, where dozens of Jedi train in the ways of the Force. A large group of Jedi Padawan learners and Jedi Masters are seen training intently on the balconies of Cloud City. Suddenly, many nefarious dark Jedi warriors, each wearing a sinister black mask and armour which exactly resembles the look of Darth Vader from the classic Star Wars trilogy, descend upon the Cloud City in a sudden and devastating attack.
Hey!
Oh God! Oh God!
The leg!
Oh God!
Do you want to know what I think? This is my theory, right? Super Shadow, is that his name? Right? It's fucking George Lucas. George Lucas is trolling, and he's just basically sitting there at his computer going, "Why won't anyone believe me?" It's George. It's over. Stop it.
Apparently, he's also got insider knowledge on Indiana Jones 5, 6, and 7. If you want to check his website.
Oh, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
All right.
By which time Harrison Ford will be played by Jerry Anderson's animation team.
It's just
Does Super Shadow actually reveal his name? I mean, his proper name.
No.
Oh, there you go then. So he can say what the fuck he likes.
Yes.
Well, I look forward to all the news, but basically all the stuff that's happening at the moment, it's almost like they had this ultra secrecy going on, like real Area 51 stuff.
Yeah.
And kind of like now they just thought, yeah, fuck it, we'll just let it all go. Yeah. Completely.
Yeah.
Everyone,
just open the doors.
This is exactly what's happening. Yeah.
You know what? I would like to hear nothing more about this for the next year. Just let it go completely silent.
Yeah.
You know?
So I take it that you three learned gentlemen think that these rumours are bollocks.
Largely, yes.
No, I think my word was cunt. Yes,
Yeah.
load of cunt.
If we use Darren's vernacular here, I'm not going for full cunt, but I'm basically going for largely cunt.
I'm glad we're getting a sort of Star Wars scale, a gradient of cuntage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh God!
All the way from Ewok to Sarlacc.
Right. Okay. Well, I've got one thing to ask you guys. Have you seen this piece of paper before?
Oh.
Where have all the heroes gone? We're left with all the nods. I just want one Superman and not this bunch of slobs. Not a single one of them could take on Mr. Freeze. They're so lightweight they could get blown away in a stiff breeze. The shitty heroes, the bandage costumes are just a little bit too tight. They're not very cool and they're not very fast, and they're most likely die in a fight. It's shitty heroes. Just one look at these dudes and you know they ain't right. Marvel DC doesn't mean much to me because they are a total shite.
Hulk smash! Puny lunch singer.
Right. Okay. So shitty superheroes for this week. This one is from the DC universe. As we've already established, the DC universe seems to be replete with shitty superheroes from the past that just make no sense. Well, this one has first appeared in Batman 300. So it's definitely one that was, there. The character's name in original to the ego is Abner Krill. He's a Batman rogue from Silver Age Comics. And he is, well, there's no easy way of putting this, so I'll just have to come out with it. He is Polka Dot Man.
What?
Polka Dot Man. He is
Polka Dot Man.
Basically, right, he's a criminal whose crimes revolve around the general theme of dots. And when he steals a black pearl from a foreign official who travels with a spotted leopard, Polka Dot Man's white costume is covered with multicoloured polka dots, each of whom, when torn from his suit, instantly transforms itself into some kind of weapon or escape device.
Oh, well.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, Polka Dot Man. Hold on. Powers and abilities. Whether he created the suit or stole the technology is unknown, but Abner Krill possesses advanced technology in the form of his costume dots. When attached to his costume, they're inert. But when removed, they would enlarge in size and become various different devices which could aid his crime spree. Most notably, the purple one could become a flying saucer, which we used as a getaway vehicle. The spots were controlled through his costume's belt. Polka Dot Man appears also in Batman Brave and the Bold episode Legend of the Dark Might.
Oh dear,
Right.
oh
Yeah,
dear.
which kind of tells you where we're on Batmite. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he later appears in an episode called A Bat Divided, playing billiards against Zodiac Master and Zebra Man, who really should appear in
Jesus
this as well.
Christ.
Yes, but he's also partners with Killer Moth, who was once seen in Batman Year 1 in June 2003. Killer Moth was one of the superheroes that we featured years ago who was a guy who just took the being a moth a little too much and was defeated by a large Silver Age light bulb, I believe.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lifelong Batman fan.
Yeah.
And basically, Polka Dot Man is clearly from the League of Cunts. And actually, what I love about the DC universe, and I love the DC universe, is that that, and I've actually got a Batman encyclopedia here in the study, and basically, that they would have gone to town and created this really intense fictional biography like Polka Dot Man is from Earth 22, when in fact what they should have said is like basically that night the staff were on Skag, and there's no point doing a massive fictional biography for this guy. We were just really fucking
we're
high.
off our tits.
I'll tell you,
anyway,
Darren,
would
I'm
you
looking at him right now.
Go on, what do you think of
He's
Polka
wearing
Dot Man?
he's wearing his pajamas. He really is. He's just got he's like a big spotted onesie.
Yes,
on.
yes, he does look like the world's biggest baby cosplayer.
He's been shopping down at Primark as well.
Yeah,
so
he shops at Primark. Actually, he looks like he fell down the stairs while someone was playing Twister.
Jesus Christ!
I mean, if this is like Batman 300, so this is like Silver Age. This is like the late 50s, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's almost like because it is very playful, the Silver Age, and if you read it in context, these things are quite fun. But you could just imagine sort of like Batman swinging through a window and like freeze evil. Oh, for fuck's sake! Not this again. Jesus fucking Christ!
Robin, do you want to take this one? I'm going home.
And basically, people like Polka Dot Man obviously just led Batman to just physically abuse Robin, just like take out the frustration.
Okay, I've got a picture here of basically Batman punching him on the snot box, and it's got right on the dot. By now, you should be seeing spots before your eyes, Mr. Polka Dot.
Yeah,
as you can see, the script writing back then was first fucking class.
It's that kind of quality of writing that's kept Batman fresh and enduring for 60 odd years.
Fucking hellfire!
Yeah, it's great.
Oh shit!
What?
Oh look, it's a picture from the next Judge Dredd film. No, it's the Dark Judge. Oh no, sorry, it's a picture of the Rolling Stones. Sorry,
that's at the bottom of the website.
Fuck me.
So there you go.
I got all excited there for a minute.
So that's this week's shitty superhero, which is Polka Dot Man. If you have any shitty superheroes, as we said last week, keep them to yourself.
Banish them to hell!
Burn them, kill them with fire.
Or send them into Blackdog at geekplanetonline.com. Right, okay, well, I guess we should have a little brief interlude with Mr. Jim Moon and his Profanosaurus. Are you ready with the Profanosauri, Mr. Jim?
I am. I have the book here.
Lovely.
The Zaza Zatanora comic books I ordered.
yeah. Filipino schlong boy superheroes huffing the rocks. Right. Okay, sir. Let's pray silence for this week's Jim Moon's Profanosaurus.
Shaken, not stirred. Euphemism. How I like my drinks. Taking your old lady while sat on the washing machine during the spin cycle. And how Michael Bay arranges the piss-poor cavalcade of shite, stupid plot elements and explosions that pass for what he laughably calls a fucking script.
There you go. Thank you very much, Jim. There you go. And I'm sure we'll have more Profanosaurus next week. Right. Excellent. Well, with that, first of many dubious Connery impressions, I suppose we should move on to this week's Rose Tinted Specs, and also a discussion of Bond in general.
You bet your fucking arse.
Yash. So, Dink, you better go off. Men talk. Say goodbye to Felix. Okay, let's talk about Bond, eh? Bond's been around for 50 years, as we've said. A little bit of a back history. I'm sure everyone will jump in whenever they feel like it.
Can I just jump in briefly?
There you go.
Can I just jump in briefly
fuck off.
and say I'm a pedantic cunt? Because you said that Bond's been around for 50 years.
Okay,
right?
You're going to mention Casino Royale in 53, aren't you?
Well, yeah. So Bond is technically 59 years.
You know,
sorry, I'm a cunt.
You know what? Fuck you.
And what about Bob Holness on South African radio?
Oh, fucking hell. Here we go.
Fuck you too.
Here we go. Welcome to the Fuck You podcast. Well, in fact...
I'll have a Q, please, Bob.
You can have a P and like it. In your face! Well, actually, if we're going to be like that, okay. He's been portrayed, James Bond has been portrayed by Barry Nelson in 1954.
You're going to say Barry White for a minute.
Barry White.
I'm licensed to kill women.
Oh, yeah. So Barry Nelson in 1954, Sean Connery in 1962, right through to 1983. David Niven, George Lazenby, Christopher Cazenove, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig. Then he was also in radio plays played by Bob and Holness, George Baker, Michael Jason, and Toby Stevens, who also was the villain in, I think, is it Die Another Day? Or
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. So there you go. That should cover all of that, you pedantic bastards.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. I'm joking. Yes, the name... James Bond. Fleming took the name for the character from the American ornithologist James Bond, a Caribbean bird expert and author of the definitive field guide Birds of the West Indies. Fleming was a keen bird watcher himself and had a copy of Bond's guide, and he later explained to the ornithologist's wife that it struck me that his brief, unromantic, Anglo-Saxon and yet very masculine name was just what I needed, and so I second James Bond was born.
That's actually quite interesting that you talk about the ornithologist, because Birds of the West Indies is my favourite interracial magazine.
We're horny ornithologists.
Are we back to Scatman Carruthers sort of...
Sorry, carry on.
His interior decoration from The Shining, but
yeah.
Fleming... oh God, this is.
Do you know what? With all the cuts we're going to have to make to this podcast, it's going to be 5 minutes long.
Welcome to the Blackdog podcast. Good night,
James Bond. What do you think? Yeah, it's all right. Good night.
Okay.
Yeah, Fleming he's based his creation on a number of individuals he came across, pardon the pun, during his time at the Naval Intelligence Division during World War II, admitting that Bond was a compound of secret agents and commando types they met during the war. Among those types were his brother Peter, who had also been involved behind lines operations in Norway and Greece during the war. Aside from that, Fleming's brother, a number of others were provided some aspects of Bond's makeup, including Comrade O'Brien French and Patrick Diesel Job and Bill Biffy Dunderdale. And I'm sure we all know them and have all their albums. Fleming decided that Bond should look very much like an American singer, Hoagy Carmichael, and a cross between him and Fleming himself. And in Casino Royale, Vesper Lind remarks, Bond reminds me of a Hoagy Carmichael, but there's something cold and ruthless. Likewise, in Moonraker, Special Branch Officer Gala Brand thinks that Bond is certainly good looking, rather like Hoagy Carmichael in a way. That black hair falling down over the right eyebrow, much the same bones, and there's something a bit cruel about the mouth, and the eyes were cold. So basically, he's a hipster.
Don't ruin it.
Don't ruin it. Anyway, I won't go into anything else beyond saying that post-Fleming novels were included things like we're a GoldenEye, and there was another one that I thought that was actually never mind. It doesn't matter. I've lost it. License to Kill.
Colonel Sun.
Yeah, Colonel Sun. Yeah, there's lots of the post novels, but I was trying to find ones that were sort of tied to the movies.
Oh, you mean the ones by Raymond Benson?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. There you go. Yeah, Colonel Sun, written by Kingsley Amis. But yes, the ones that were sort of linked to films were, like John Gardner wrote a series which was called License Renewed. Gardner went on to write 16 Bond books in total, including License to Kill and GoldenEye, which were turned into films. Right, I mean, let's just cut to the chase. I mean, let's go round the table. Who wants to go first on your favourite Bond actor? Anyone?
I'll go.
Of course, go for it. Who's your favourite Bond actor and why?
My favourite Bond actor is Timothy Dalton. Now, it's the controversial choice because he's always sort of looked down upon because he was too dour. And people credit Daniel Craig with getting back to Fleming, the spirit and tone of the books, because of Casino Royale. And I think it's very true. They did with that. But up until Daniel Craig, the actor that came by far the closest to the spirit and tone of Fleming was Timothy Dalton. And the two films I think he did are dreadfully underrated. And License to Kill is essentially just like a Fleming novel. It's really hard, really dirty violence. I thought that he actually captured the vulnerability of Bond, and that this is a very conflicted man. I love all the Bonds. I think that it's very difficult to sort of say that any one of them are crap. Like people say Lazenby's crap. Now he was a subpar Bond, but if you put Sean in On Her Majesty's, then you'd be looking at sort of like one of the best Bond films absolutely ever. But I think that Dalton gets a bad rap, and he is absolutely a brilliant Bond. And it's a real shame, one of the real tragedies of the franchise, that the legal problems with MGM denied him from doing at least a third film, because it was going to happen in 91.
Really?
Yeah. But basically it all stopped for 6 years. And then in 1994, he actually bowed out of the role.
Oh,
fully. Right. So yeah, but Dalton, having watched them on Blu-ray recently, Living Daylights is a great Bond film, a really great Bond film.
And the last good song that our heart ever produced.
This is very true.
So, Jim, over to you. Do you have a favourite Bond? If so, which one and why?
At the minute, I have to say favourite Bond is Daniel Craig.
Right.
Though Dalton is damn good. This summer I watched all the Bonds again in sequence.
Yes.
I'd say on the Dalton ones, to people who are raising their eyebrows. If you go back and watch The Living Daylights and License to Kill, you'll suddenly say, hang on, this is exactly what they did with Casino Royale. But when they did it back then, coming off the back of safari suits, Roger Moore, raised eyebrows, pensioners, no one got it. If you watch them now, it's like, my God, this was the Casino Royale reboot. They were trying to do it then.
I couldn't agree more.
It didn't take.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the other thing as well about License to Kill is that if you think of the context of the cinema being produced at the time, is that License very much jibed with the action cinema at the time, which was Lethal Weapon, Die Hard. You know, it was all very one-liner heavy, and so you have this very dour, violent Bond story, and you can see why it didn't do well in the summer period when it was released. But it's a top film. I totally agree, Jim. It's fantastic.
Cool. And Mr. Barnard, sir. Over to you. Same question.
I'm going to agree with Jim and say Daniel Craig.
Right.
Mainly because I don't know. I mean, I like the way he plays Bond. I really do. I was a bit unsure when I first heard he was going to be Bond, but then, I mean, I watched Casino Royale, and it's kind of like he sealed the deal for me. I think that film, really, with him in it, in the role, he captures exactly what is said about the character. Q said, or M says, we need a blunt weapon. And you can just see it from the opening sequence where you've got the guy jumping around. The bad guy's doing all the wonderful leaps, and he's doing all this, was it parkour, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, doing all that. And he's doing wonderful. And Daniel Craig is going straight through the wall. That's it. He's not doing all the jumpy about bollocks. He's just going like a tank. Yeah. It's like, I'm coming to get you. This is it. I am basically James Bond the Terminator. You fucking edit, mate. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair enough. It's the way he played it a lot. I don't know. It's just something about him. I really did like the way he actually, the sort of the life he gave to the character. Right. You know. But also going back to Timothy Dalton, I have to say, honourable mention goes to him. I think he's possibly my second favourite Bond. Wow, that's controversial. Well, I've got my own reasons for that. It's because you love Flash Gordon. Well, there is that. And, you bloody bastard! You bastard bloody! You're a bloody bastard.
Yeah. The thing about Dalton is I remember is that my first Bond film with my dad, and I always think about Bond terms in sort of like in terms of like fathers to sons and passing that down, was that I saw The Spy Who Loved Me in late '77, and so I've got a huge affection for Roger, because he is like my first Bond. But the thing about Tim Dalton is that he was kind of like the changeover Bond for me. So I kind of felt that was something for my audience. I was 15 at the time. Oh, no, actually, I was 13 at the time of Living Daylights, and so I
feel very old.
Yeah, Roger's great, and I won't have a word said against him because those films are fucking entertaining. Yeah. But Timothy Dalton's, is where it's at. And obviously, I think we all have to agree here that, even though we have our distinct choices, obviously Sean is above that.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, because I was going to say, because Sean's going to come in on my one, but I got to say, what was you going to say, Darren? Because you were just about to sort of finish off with Timothy Dalton, because I was going to say, because you were sort of going on about, like, you liked him because... sorry.
Basically, you just see him get hurt. This is a James Bond that's got Indiana cuts and Jones. Fucking bruises and everything, right? Yeah. I mean, I think it was the end of... was it License to Kill, where he's got the truck? Yeah. Yes. And right, okay, at the end of that, he's on the floor, his blood on him, he's got fucking dirt all in his hair's all mussed up. And it's like, you wouldn't get that with Sean Connery and Roger Moore. It would be all smart suits.
But I suppose it's what you want from the character.
Well, it's just kind of like, he can do all this super stuff, but it's like, it's a bit more, it takes it to a little bit more of a believable level. It's not totally believable because, James Bond is a fantastic, the whole stories, they're quite fantastic, the whole Bond thing is. Yeah. But, and also the thing with the girls as well, it wasn't so, he's not shagging everything. All right, he gets the thing at the beginning where he jumps onto the boat and he sees the woman there, but... I mean, there was this big thing made about the fact that he kind that they were trying to change the angle that Bond takes with women.
Changing from Mr. Rapey.
Exactly. Well, no, well, and I'll talk about that as well. Because
when we get to Goldfinger.
When we get to Goldfinger, I'll talk about that one.
Say goodbye to Felix.
Quick aside about License to Kill. Favourite moment in License to Kill is that you mentioned the thing about
the truck.
Dalton in Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
You know, freeze, you bloody bastards!
You bloody bastards!
And there's another moment in License to Kill that I love because it's quite a little sadistic moment where the northern accent comes in. Is where he's preparing to shoot Sanchez, and you hear him whisper, "Kiss the birdie, you bastard." And I like that. It's quite a nice little strain of cruelty. I
like the cheesy link with the title of the film in The Living Daylights when he goes, "I must have scared the living daylights out of her." There we go. Got the title in. I've got the title in.
Yeah. Bingo.
Yeah. So I think Timothy Dalton, definitely deserves a mention. So second favourite Bond, I think.
I'm going to be a little, I guess, both conventional and controversial. Okay, so obviously my first Bond was Christmas Bonds. Watching them at Christmas. So it was Sean Connery. It was Russia with Love. Yeah, You Only Live Twice. Be careful you don't get soap in my eye. And that kind of thing. Thunderball. Tell Q to get little Nelly ready. Yeah, and I loved that. It was brilliant. It was during my sort of. My love of Thunderbirds and garish, gaudy, sort of super spy antics. I love that, and I love Sean in those. I mean, watching Goldfinger, which we'll get to later, but it's like that's kind of tarnished it a bit. But I tell you, the thing I liked about Bond, for me, was the slick, smooth, suave, the sort of aspirational side to the whole thing. Everywhere he was always in a glamorous location. He's always with women, and he's having this fantastic time. You always got a feeling that even when he was like punching sort of like Scaramanga in the throat, he was kind of still sitting there going, "Hey, you know what? This is still fun, and I'm doing it on tax dollars." But the other Bond, which made the biggest impact with me, and it went downhill really quickly. So this is kind of my caveat, was Pierce Brosnan. Now, the reason for that was because I didn't really dig Dalton. Living Daylights, I've still to this day never seen Living Daylights all the way through. License to Kill, I saw about 3 times in the cinema because I just loved it. But it was an action film rather than a Bond film as far as I'm concerned. So when it switched to Pierce Brosnan, that was my moment. That was my, look, hold on, this is a new, different Bond, especially the whole damn diving sequence. Then there's Sean Bean going, "2, come on, James, clean and country. Let's see what you can do." And Winter's...
Come on, James, get some texts.
Yeah, exactly.
Winter's coming.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, winter's coming, James. Winter's coming. Oh, shut up. Anyway, but the problem with Brosnan was the films didn't support him afterwards. I felt like he was a Bond that would develop and improve over time, but he never got that chance because the films were resolutely shit all the way through after that. Tomorrow Never Dies was awful. World Is Not Enough was poxy, and fucking Die Another Day was just an abomination. It was like someone shitting in my eyes.
You bring up a very interesting point there because the Brosnan films were designed to be in competition with the blockbuster cinema of the period of the 90s. And one of the interesting things about the Brosnan films is that you can tell that the films were very, very formulaic. They were really big budget. Tomorrow Never Dies was at 110 million, as I recall. And and there are moments where Brosnan was really trying hard to get in a lot of the Fleming tone of the character. But it was always swept away by the really big budget effects. I mean, there's that great moment in Tomorrow Never Dies where he's in his room after being beaten up, and it's the vodka scene, it's the GQ scene, and he's sitting there and he's undone his tie and he's basically sitting there with the vodka in one hand and the Walther in the other, just waiting for the assassin to come. But all that stuff was kind of few and far between, and it's a shame
Yeah.
But Brosnan's underrated. He is the all-rounder.
Yeah, he is. He's the sort of middle of the road man. But I think it was just he only gets the notable exception over Craig because I think GoldenEye was such a sort of da-da kind of return to form after Living Daylights was just an action film. License to Kill was just an action film, and then just suddenly have it spring back into life and be fully formed and just a good all-round Bond film.
And a great villain too in GoldenEye.
Yeah.
You notice that in the films, a lot of the best villains, I think, are the ones that are essentially kind of like the dark mirror images of 007.
Yes.
Scaramanga, 006, and then obviously Skyfall, which you haven't seen yet. But
no, don't say anything.
So I'm not going to say anything. But I think that GoldenEye was really good because you had a villain that was his match.
Yeah, exactly, and they knew each other's tricks, and to me, GoldenEye is the Bond film I can return to without sitting there going, "Oh God, no, he's being a sexist pig now. Oh fuck, oh God, he's raping her in a fucking barn. Oh Jesus Christ," So to me that's kind of the all rounder. I mean, I do appreciate Craig and I do appreciate Dalton. I love Roger Moore. But that's on a purely kind of it doesn't feel like Bond compared to the others. I mean, Lazenby, Connery, Dalton, Craig, and to a lesser degree Pierce Brosnan all feel like the same character, whereas Roger Moore feels like he's just wandered off the set of Carry On Camping and just been given a Walter PPK.
I always class the Roger Moore movies as the Adam West Batman TV show of the James Bond.
Oh, really?
Yes. Come on now.
No. I know. I'm totally willing to concede that Roger. There's a lot of camp. Like, there's no doubt.
It's like Dale went in a wigwam.
I was going to say there's a lot of camp.
Then there's a lot of camp, but the fact of the matter is that Roger exudes so much charm. Right, I always thought of Roger. He would just be like the best guy to have as like an uncle, right? Not in a Jimmy Savile.
Hold on. Where are we going with this?
but I always, because the guy Roger Moore clearly has a tremendous sense of humour, and if you read his autobiography and the Bond on Bond book, he clearly had a great laugh making these movies, and I think he has such charm that it's infectious. You can forgive the lack of a hard edge in a lot of the Roger Moore films because he's just so compelling as a character.
Yeah.
This is why I say it's the Adam West Batman of James Bond, because it is. I mean, they're literally comedies. Most of it. It's like
I don't know. Live and Let Die was really good. I mean,
the thing he starts out quite serious, but they does get campier and campier, probably peaking with Moonraker.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the one thing I will always respect Roger for is that he did have some hard moments. People forget this, that in For Your Eyes Only in '81, when he kicks the car over the cliff that's teetering on the edge. I mean, that's like real Fleming. He's like, and actually, Moore didn't want to do it. What he basically wanted to do.
That's because his hip had gone.
No. Well, John Glenn writes in his book about the films he directed that Roger was terribly worried about that sequence playing with his image as James Bond, and what he wanted to do was to chuck in the pin of the dove, and just the weight of that would tip the car over the edge. And Glenn had to really convince Roger to basically say, no, this guy killed your friend. You should kick the fucker over the side. and basically, they did that, and it's just, I think it's the best moment, the hardest moment of Roger's tenure.
Okay,
great.
Cool. Okay, well, moving on from best Bond, so to speak, let's move on to, is there well, let's move on to villains. Obviously, we glanced upon it earlier on. So is there a favourite villain, one that stands out that actually is a good villain, a solid villain? Not necessarily just one that reoccurs. Obviously, Blofeld's the one that everyone will nod to. But is there a villain that you think is, one that was, defined Bond. If you were to suddenly bring Bond in and go, look, this is your best villain. This is a great film. If we could bring this guy back and do it again, this would be superb. And I'm going to throw that straight to Jim this time, Mr. Jim.
Oh, so many to choose from.
Yeah.
I think Sean Bean's 006 is very memorable because, as you say, he is that dark mirror image of Bond.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in the Bond franchise, the recurring thing is the super rich megalomaniac.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are quite fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Drax in Moonraker.
My visual image. He's still borrowing that off me now.
But Drax does have a great line in Moonraker. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Mr. Bond, once again you appear with all the tedious inevitability of an unloved season.
Very nice. But anyway, carry on, Jin. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they can be quite fun, but I'm more drawn to kind of like 006 or I can't remember his name. The main agent who's pursuing him in From Russia with Love, played by Robert Shaw.
Yeah.
Red Grant.
Yes.
Yeah. Or Rosa Klebb, just because she's a opposite number, but she's not like so many other female opposite numbers you see in the Bond film. She's not a bimbo dolly bird. She's a wizened old bitch who's completely homicidal. I mean, a personal favourite is Scaramanga, because he is the ultimate opposite number of Bond.
Best name
and the fact
as well.
is, in the film as well, it's kind of, for most of the time, he doesn't actually want to kill Bond. He respects Bond, which is really interesting, rather than the, ha-ha, there's that Bond fellow, fuck him up. You, knick-knack, tic-tac. Onomatopoeic henchman, go get him now.
Yes, and of course, let's not skip around it, but it is Bond versus Dracula, and there's a little sexual frisson with the fact he's got a third nipple.
Oh yes.
Most titillating.
Oh yes, titillating. So let's move on to Darren this time. A villain?
Villain. Oh, this is the thing. I don't know if I've got a favourite villain really. I quite like Javier Bardem in the latest one. I thought he was all right.
I don't know this man.
No, I know you don't, but he's quite creepy and takes it in one direction. Well, you're going to have to see it at one point. It's kind of like, I don't think you've ever seen a villain take it in that direction. Just a tiny bit in one scene, and it's kind of like, oh God, I don't like where this is going.
He's taking it up one direction. That's like a boy band.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I'm not going to say it anymore.
Darren's absolutely right. I mean, the sequence he's referring to is actually a first for a Bond film.
Yeah, very much so.
Oh dear.
And I don't think I've ever seen Bond look so uncomfortable.
It's really good.
This is not another Le Chiffre with his knotted rope giving Bond's balls a bit of a slapping, is it?
Actually,
no.
Well, it's kind. I suppose it could be thematically be a bit related to that, but it's more. It's kind of.
It's more of a cupping than a slapping. But there you go.
Yeah, it's different, but it's very subtle and actually very, very interesting in relation to the character.
You can actually see James Bond just not expecting that, and it's kind of. No matter how stoic he looks in that scene, it's kind of I must keep smiling. But you can see it in his eyes. It's sort of like they twitch slightly in the corner.
I think someone on the Blackdog Facebook group, I think it's John Campion or someone like that, said that when you really want to hurt Bond, you always aim for the balls.
Yeah, get him in the ball.
Get him in the balls.
Right, punch him on the end of the cock. There.
Laser up the scrot. Bit of a rope to the knacks.
But Bond villain, I don't know. I suppose I've got a little bit of affection for Jaws.
Really?
Just the lumbering. Well,
but he ended up fucking Pippi Longstopping.
Yeah, I know. I really don't know. I like the. This is the thing to me. They're not. I don't know if there's really any Bond villain that stands out.
Okay.
Go on. No, I really haven't got. that much. I mean, I haven't seen every single Bond film, so...
Oh, you got to give something to Yaphet Kotto with a bit of a shark pellet in the
That,
mouth.
yes, him. But also the voodoo henchman.
Baron Samedi.
That's the one, yes. I like him.
Okie
Again, another Roger Moore.
Yeah, okay. So right then, go on, Danny. Go for it.
Well, going back to Jaws quickly, I always remember the sequence in Moonraker where they're in Rio and the carnival, and they go down the side street, and all of a sudden you just see the lumbering clown.
Yes.
Coming down. That used to scare the shit out of me when I was a kid. But
it's a great sequence, though.
Yeah, it is.
It
is
still a great sequence.
But I have to echo Jim and say that I think one of the strongest ever villains, and I know people might say Goldfinger and stuff, but I do think it's Scaramanga, because it is the dark mirror image of Bond. It's kind of like if Bond wasn't loyal and patriotic, he probably would be. He could become an assassin.
Yeah.
And Jim, you're absolutely right. Like a lot of the film, there is a mutual respect between them, and he's not going out of his way to kill him. Scaramanga has this arrogant assumption that Bond will die at his hand, but it will be at a time and place of his choosing on the island. And it also sets up that really great notion, and that happened in the Connery films as well, of all the villains just being so exceedingly polite, and like with Drax, when they go bird shooting in France, and that basically the whole thing is all very genteel and very British and going shooting and stuff, but every bit of the script just drips with malevolent intent. He's basically threatening him in Moonraker.
Yeah. And that's a bit like with Goldfinger as well, with them playing golf. Yeah.
And I think that's the bits I always enjoy in Bond films, where basically, it's all very polite and very genteel, but beneath it, it's kind of like, I am going to fucking kill you. And I always think it's a really stylish point about, especially in a lot of action cinema where, the villains are just so overt and so blunt. It's actually nice for there to be a bit of just really venomous subtext.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's cool. So you think Scaramanga is kind of getting the thumbs up all round here, isn't it? I mean, I to be quite honest, I have to say The Man with the Golden Gun is one of those films where I kind of I enjoy it when I'm watching it, but I never feel the need to watch it. And I think Scaramanga as a villain kind of suffers because of that. I mean, I go back to GoldenEye. I think 006 is actually a really great villain insofar as it is the playbook played back at Bond. But Red Grant is the villain I always remember. I remember that scene when you think that Bond's got away and they're on the train, and then all of a sudden he just comes in and it's like, oh, you just know it's all going to kick off now. It's really, and I have to say that those two are the villains that I find the most memorable.
Yeah. Well, I was watching From Russia with Love last week, and when they go to the Spectre training camp, when Klebb goes to check him out and stuff, I really admire Robert Shaw in that sequence, because she gets a knuckle duster on, and she fucking smacks him in the stomach, right? And if you actually look at Robert Shaw's face, all he manages is this slight grimace in his mouth, right? But he internalizes like the pressure and the pain.
Yeah.
And I think, bloody hell, mate. I mean, honestly, she fucking whacked you.
Yeah.
With a knuckle duster.
She really planted one on him.
Yeah, and I was quite impressed. I thought, Jesus Christ. I imagine someone like Shaw, who was a bit of a boozer and obviously a novelist. I imagine he'd been in a few bar fights before, but
yeah.
I thought, he could take the pain. Take it.
Yeah. I'll give you, for 10,000, I'll bring you the head, the neck, the whole damn thing.
Yeah. What's the betting though? When they said cut, he just went, fuck it all!
Just fell off out of shot. Just slid out of the camera shot.
But yeah, if you watch his face, he allows himself to sort of like to bite his teeth, and that's it. That's it.
Because the other problem I have with the megalomaniacal sort of villains, the sort of the Blofelds, the Drax, Goldfinger, and so on, is that they always lead to a really unsatisfying conclusion, because they are not physically equipped to deal with Bond. So you get things like, oh, I've got the drop on you, but Bond actually will fuck you up just by just being cleverer than you, like Drax going out the airlock, or or Goldfinger making the most ridiculous fucking faux pas ever. Oh, I've escaped. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get on the heavily armed plane, and then I'm going to attack the secret agent while I'm still sort of like carrying 70 extra pounds and waving away at the pilot with a gun. And it's just like, you're all idiots. So that always undermines those megalomaniacal kind of characters.
I must say that of those characters, there is one who is actually underrated, and that's Zorin from A View to a Kill. I think that he is like genuinely malevolent in that, and I always remember from that film right at the end where obviously it's the Golden Gate Bridge and there's the balloon and things, but there's the old guy, his mentor, who's like clearly some sort of like ex-renegade Nazi or something like that. And just when he goes like doolally right at the end, he lets out this really pathetic "meh," and that always makes me laugh. The memory of that.
Shaun the Sheep via Christopher Walken.
It is. So yeah.
Oh god. Okay. Well, while we're talking about absolute mad crap moments, I mean, let's start with Darren this time, but. Is there a film or moment or something within Bond where you just turn around and go, right, fine, that's going off. I've had enough. This is the shittiest film or the worst villain or something that I just can't stand anymore. It's just the worst film. Goodbye. Thank you. Good night. What is Bond's lowest ebb?
Bond's lowest ebb? Blimey.
As it were.
I thought you were going to ask me what's the funniest. What's
the funniest noise Christopher Walken's ever made?
I'm gonna stab him in the eye.
A fast ship. She's fast enough for you, old man. But anyway, sorry.
I'm gonna have that as a fucking message tone. I'm gonna get that from the film.
It's Shaun the Sheep.
The most ridiculous. I don't know. Actually,
I mean.
Even at Roger Moore's, all his stuff I kind of like just because it's over the top, and it's like Roger Moore's gone, fuck it, I'm just going to go for it.
My conservatory is going to be like Alexandra Palace.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't think I've ever seen a Bond film where there's one single scene that's made me.
Let's rephrase it. Is there a bad Bond film that you just absolutely refuse to watch?
No, in their way, they've all got something in them. Everything from Goldfinger right up to the modern day.
Right.
To the modern day Bond. There's always
not even Sontum of Qualis.
Sontum of Qualis. No, I found
question of sport.
As admittedly, it is not the best of Craig's run, but I found elements in that still made me think. Well, I can see what they were trying to do there. There's this whole kind of this development in Bond where he's still dealing with like the death of Vesper, and you can see where he's dealing with that, and it's that. I think one of the best scenes in that film is where Craig's got the I can't remember the character's name, but he's got him cradled in his arms.
Yeah.
As the guy goes, "Don't leave me."
Yeah. Oh, the guy.
Mathis.
Yeah.
And it's when he comes out with, "Can we forgive each other now?"
Yeah.
And it's that. I thought that scene alone.
Yeah.
Kind of. I thought, okay, this isn't as bad as I'm led to believe. There are still nuggets in there. So yeah, I don't think there is to me there's no Bond film that makes me want to switch it off.
Okay.
Each one has their good elements, I think.
Okay, and Danny, what about you?
I'm with Darren on this. I'm a lifelong Bond devotee, both of the books and the films. And of the films, they all have value. They all have a huge entertainment value, and I respect them all for what they did at the time. And I've never been bored by a Bond, and I've never. Felt I just got to switch this off. It's crap. I love them all. I can see, just like Darren with Sontum of Qualis, that because
Broadcast Concord.
How does that get a laugh when he says it? And I said it 3 times, and everyone just let it pass.
Well, I said it with a sort of Roger-esque joie de vivre.
Yes, he did.
Motherfucker.
He kind of did.
But no, with Phantom of Qualis, I mean, obviously, that it's a film that I have a sort of certain regard for, in as much as I kind of admire what they were trying to do, but it's the only film in the entire run that you cannot watch by itself. You have to watch Casino.
Right.
But there's some good stuff in it. I mean, obviously, I'd love to go and stay at that hotel that's basically utterly flammable. It's great. No, I mean,
worst secret base ever.
Yeah. It is literally a case of, we've put you in the most fucking flammable suite in the hotel, sir. This will do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and it looks like it was built in IKEA.
Yeah.
It's just like an IKEA box shelf or something. It's just weird.
I mean, certainly there are Bond films that I have more affection for than others. But I mean, I can go through them all, and I love them just as much, really.
Okay, fair enough. So, Jim, same question to you, sir.
Well, same as everyone else. I don't think there's anything in the Bond franchise pretty much where you go, I'm turning this off. There are moments where I'm gritting my teeth. The pigeon doing a double take in Moonraker during the gondola chase. That's a low point for me.
Or Roger Moore in a crocodile submarine in Octopussy.
Do you know what?
That's passable. It's things like in Diamonds Are Forever, which
is a terrible film.
Is terrible. Sean didn't want to be there. The script didn't want to be there.
The audience didn't want to be
there. But it's that bit where having this chase, and then there's a fake moon landing or something, and a moon buggy in it, and you're just going, "What?"
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's always something coming up in a Bond film that gets you past those moments.
Yeah.
However, there is one when we did the complete rewatch. I was about ready to chew off my own arms and take them as bloody bleeding clubs and beat to death everyone involved if most of them were already dead.
Okay.
And that's the original version of Casino Royale.
Oh, what?
The one with David Niven and Woody Allen and Orson Welles.
Oh, see now.
That is toe-curlingly awful, but in every single frame.
You won't get any argument out of me for that one.
It is fucking awful, but is that canon? I mean, do we count that? Because I mean, if we go on to that, then we're into the dirty stepchild of Never Say Never Again.
Yeah, I don't think you can really consider it canon. I think there's something very grimly fascinating.
It should be shot from a fucking cannon. I'll tell you that.
No, it is shit, but it is kind of grimly fascinating to watch because it's a really beautiful mess.
Well, it's like, how more mental can this get? And the answer is lots, actually.
Yeah. It is absolutely absurd.
So while we're at it, I mean, are we just so we're clear? Are we counting Never Say Never Again as well?
No. Certainly not from my end. I think it's fine, but it's basically
it's a remake of Thunderball.
It's a remake of Thunderball, but also as well is that it's a knockoff of Bond in as much as it's being as much Bond as it could get away with. Because part of the thing about Kevin McClory, the producer of Thunderball, is that he had certain rights to elements of Thunderball, which is why when it comes to Never Say Never Again, you don't basically Q is not referred to as Q. I think something like that. But there are certain elements that he's not allowed to refer to. And I actually think that in Never Say Never, they're not allowed to have a Walther.
Really?
Something. Yeah, there's an element of it that is quite striking that it's missing. But it's basically a copyright issue.
Okay.
This is why at the start of View to a Kill, you have that sequence with the fellow in the wheelchair who everyone assumes is Blofeld, but they can't name him as Blofeld.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they put that in as a basically way of saying, fuck you, Kev. Fuck you.
As they drop him down a chimney.
Yeah.
By the way, there is one cringeworthy moment. It was watching Goldfinger, and it's one of the very first scenes in it. It's where James Bond is swimming along underwater with a fucking seagull strapped to his fucking head. It's like, fuck you, man.
but the thing is that might be kitsch and shit. But the fact of the matter is that when he takes off the wetsuit and he's got the fucking dinner suit on,
and it's completely pressed. There's no wrinkles in it whatsoever.
But that's the thing is that you forget that instantly, and all you can think of is you stylish motherfucker.
You just styled that whole thing out.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can't count Never Say Never Again, I have to say that for me, I mean, a lot of people say that Diamonds Are Forever is a terrible film. I've always got a little fondness for it, because again, it's a Christmas film. I always remember watching it at Christmas, and then there's the two henchmen, I can't remember their surnames, but they were
Mr. Kid and Mr. Wynn.
Yes,
one of which he resembles Kim Newman.
Oh, God.
Yes, he does. He does.
Yes, we've seen Kim Newman standing up in screenings many times, actually. Yeah.
And also, as well, in Diamonds, there is that fantastic line from Blofeld, "Why, Miss Case, you seem to be showing a little more cheek than usual."
But I was going to say, the one film, I mean, I mentioned Living Daylights earlier on, but the one film I genuinely cannot stand, and it's, it never entices me at all. I get like about 3 minutes in and I just go, actually, I cannot be fucked with this film, is Octopussy. I just cannot get through it. I genuinely have not seen more than 20 minutes of that film.
Do you know, it's funny you should say that.
Are you telling me you can't even laugh at the way Louis Jourdan says, "Octopussy"?
Yeah, I think that's generally where I kind of go, oh, fucking hell.
And you know what? I think that is the second time that James Bond actually takes on Dracula as well, because I do believe the actor played Dracula in a TV.
Yes, BBC adaptation.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. So there we go,
did.
Christopher Lee and this guy.
See, this is my superpower again. Just as it gets interesting, I turn things off. And I genuinely have never seen Octopussy. I mean, the most I know about Octopussy?
Got it.
I know it from transfers that used to come in the packets of shreddies, and you used to take them out the packets of shreddies and scribble them onto the back of the packet.
Now,
and you don't get the full glory of Maud Adams on a transfer.
Exactly.
Can I tell you an anecdote about Octopussy?
If it involves 8 cunts, then we're going to cut that out.
No, it's great. Basically, Octopussy was one of the chapters I wrote for the archives.
Yes.
Right. And going through it, there was, the sequence at the beginning with the Acrostar jet.
Yes.
Right, where the BD jet goes through the hangar and then is followed by the Exocet missile that blows it up. Really exciting.
Yeah.
And it was a great sequence. And basically, Corky Fornoff is the pilot who piloted the jet. The whole idea was to basically fly through the hangar.
Yeah.
But basically, because he was going so fucking fast, right, they couldn't follow it with the camera.
Right.
It's literally too fast. So they came up with this really ingenious, like typical Bond special effects, fantastic, is that what they did was they got a Mercedes and they cut the top off of it and they welded a steel pole in the middle of the Mercedes, right, sticking up, and they put the BD jet on this pole, right, and it was basically, and it could lurch from one side to the other, right? So when you get the shot of the BD jet going through, right, basically you've got loads of props placed, and it is basically the BD jet on top of a Mercedes being driven at 85 miles an hour. and basically, so they're bombing it through, right? And I found great quotes from the guys who did it. And basically you've got like all the soldiers in there. But if you watch very, very carefully, the B jet's tipped on one side, and if you pause it, you can literally see that it's attached to something, and it's obviously going many, many miles per hour slower than what it would be doing.
Well, yeah.
And then basically you just have the exiting shot when it's actually flying through. But also they couldn't have anyone in there because the sonic boom would have made everyone in there deaf.
Watch the entire hangar sort of suck itself inside out in the wake.
But I love that tale because it's one of the great things about Bond movies is that you've got generations of filmmakers, special effects practitioners who have like literally dedicated their entire career to this franchise. And they really know how to do their work, and like some of the special effects sequences you've seen in Bond is fucking ingenious stuff for the time.
Yeah.
And I love that sequence at the beginning of Octopussy. Fantastic.
Well, while we're talking about opening sequences, look at this smooth segue. It's the smoothest we've done.
Can I just say one thing, by the way?
Go on.
I think
So
you
much
can
for the smooth
tell.
segue.
Well, just very quickly,
go on.
I think you can tell how good a Bond movie is for yourself when your endearing memory of it.
Yeah.
And my endearing memory of Octopussy is a horse's arse. Okay.
What the hell?
In the actual horse box.
Yeah,
the one that produces the jet out. It lifts up and then the jet comes out of it.
God, yes.
That's when everybody says Octopussy, I just think of a horse's arse. That's it. That's the thing I zero in on.
Are you sure that's not just your predilection for horse?
It's got nothing to do with my video collection. Nothing at all.
Animal Farm 47.
Exactly.
But anyway.
Sorry, anyway.
No, but I was going to say, opening sequences. I mean, one of the things that's key to Bond is opening sequences. And, following the round table format, Danny, is there one opening sequence that stands out for you as the definitive Bond opening sequence?
Yeah, there's no question for this, I'm afraid. It is The Spy Who Loved Me.
I was going to say that as well.
I'm sorry. I'm lucky going first that I get to choose it. But I mean, when I first saw that, when I was very, very young, I mean, that literally was a sort of like, I am blown away by this. Yeah. But there is actually a story behind it that it kind of distinguishes Bond stunts. That was something that was lost with films like Die Another Day. Yeah. Is that what really makes this franchise's rep is the fact that it's real stunts, real danger. And when I think it was a guy called B.J. Worth who went over the side of that cliff, and you actually see it in a long shot, and you think, fucking hell, that is high.
Yes.
And you literally have, your stomach just falls away. But what's even better is that when he kicks off the skis, one of the skis goes above the parachute and hits it. And the guy was saying that if that was at another angle, it'd have gone straight through the chute and he would have been dead. Jesus. And that is like in one shot. And that's why, people can say about like CGI, in stunts and things like that, and it's all great. But I always look at Spy Who Loved Me as kind of like, that guy, balls of steel to do that, and he could have died. And it's like, and the fact that it has the Union Jack, it's one of those purely British moments in Bond. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I got to go along with that.
Doesn't it seek into Kylie Simon's? Yeah, it's that you hear the piano kick in, and it's just. That's really great. It's just perfect.
Yeah.
And that song is one of the best Bond themes.
Yeah,
one of the best.
Well, we'll get to the Bond themes in a minute because that's obviously that's got to be discussed. But Jim, do you disagree with that, or do you have a different opener?
No, Spy Who Loved Me. I mean, it's a phenomenal opening, and it's one of those. It gets better the older you are. Because I mean. I'd seen Bond on the TV, but Spy Who Loved Me was the first Bond I saw in the cinema.
Yeah,
and that just sets you up for a great movie. But the thing is, when you watch it now, you realise, shit, some mad bastard actually did that.
Yeah,
and it just gets more and more phenomenal as you watch it, particularly as you get older and feel more infirm yourself. And you realise, aware of your own mortality, it's like kind of, you couldn't probably do that scene now. Not because of CGI, just because you wouldn't get insurance anywhere near it.
No, that's true. I mean...
But other than, say, that opening sequence, the other one, just to throw you something different, is... The Rock of Gibraltar exercise that opens The Living Daylights. That is a cracking starting sequence.
Yeah, that's true. That is actually a really nice sequence. I like that. I mean, I was going to say the opening to GoldenEye with the damn bungee dive, which again is another one of those non-CGI. What the fuck? He's actually jumped off a fucking Hoover Dam. On a bungee rope, which is great. Obviously, the one thing you see Bond stop with the sucker, But what you don't see is the stunt guy propel himself back up about 600 miles an hour. But anyway, but no, I agree. I think Spy Who Loved Me really sets the bar for opening sequences. To be honest, it is quintessentially British. It is a spectacularly audacious stunt, and it has that brilliant Sieg, as we were talking earlier, to sort of Carly Simon. And
I think it's the de facto one you think of. So you say Bond opening sequence, you automatically think of the Union Jack parachute opening up, and then nobody does better.
Brilliant. So while we're talking about that, obviously Bond is very famous for the musical opener. And there's been some good ones, and there's been some bad ones. Now, I think just to cover both bases, we'll do both.
Good.
and going on the round table again, Mr. Jim, we're over to you to start with. A good Bond theme, or your favourite Bond theme, and your worst Bond theme, if you please, sir.
Best one. It's difficult. There's a lot of good ones. I'm tempted to say Goldfinger because that is just so iconic. As a
dirty
Bond
trombone
thing.
in that as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
and the worst one's easy though.
Yeah.
Madonna's "Die Another Cunting Day."
Is that the 12-inch version?
It's the Sarlacc version.
Okay. Right. Right. Why do I just have a vision of sort of melting chicken now in my head? But
Parmo.
Parmo, yeah.
Parmo, yes.
Let's not talk about Parmo.
Oh yeah,
again.
that's been unfair to Parmo.
Yeah, I don't know. Cheesy chicken. But
Superb.
Anyway, but yeah, so okay then, if Goldfinger's your kind of de facto one, is there any other one that stands out for you? Or is it all Shirley Bassey ones or?
Well, no, I really like the Carly Simon, obviously. I mean, that's one in... obviously, Diamonds Are Forever is a great one.
Yes.
And You Know My Name from Casino Royale.
Oh, yes. Chris
Oh, fucking hell, you took my one.
Yeah, he took my one.
Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. Yeah.
So I'll tell you why I like that, because it's a good rocker, but actually to be all fucking la-di-da cunt cerebral for a moment, is that You Know My Name is actually one of the most interesting Bond songs lyrically, because a lot of the Bond songs are about Bond, right?
Yes.
They're from the perspective of a woman, a Bond girl, but actually, right? And I haven't overthought this. But You Know My Name is basically James Bond, Agent 007, talking to James Bond the man, right?
Okay.
And basically, it obviously uses a lot of gambling motifs and stuff like that. But it's all about like the coldest blood runs through my veins, and it's like it's 007 saying, if you want to become me, this is what you're going to have to give up.
Ooh.
I think it's a really, really, it's literally, it's almost like, id and super id and ego and shit like that. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be that complex, obviously, but but lyrically, it is literally 007 talking to James Bond the man about what he has to become this super agent and the life that he'll be leaving behind. And also it ties into the idea of he won't ever be able to have a proper relationship, and these women will die because of their closeness to him, which ties in with Whisper. I think lyrically it's one of the most interesting. And I also agree with Jim that fucking die another cunt is fucking terrible. Years ago, I did on an a Channel 4 documentary called James Bond's Greatest Hits.
You did.
And I spoke about real venom about that song because it really pissed me off. It's like a fucking Madonna demo. She didn't make the effort to integrate it, and it really pisses me off because because a lot of the Bond films music, the melody of the songs is usually integrated into the orchestral score, but because Madonna did it on her own, David Arnold wasn't able to use it. And it's an okay Madonna song, but it's a shit Bond song. Awful.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, well, Die Another Day yeah, it is a fucking awful song. But I have one that I hate more. But I'll get to that in a minute. Darren, what do you know, your best song and
My
your
best
worst
song is "You Know My Name," because even without
you
it
boring
being
bastards, a lot of you.
no, even without it being
Yeah.
a Bond theme, as much as I mean, I really enjoy an awful lot of the Bond themes. I really do. I mean, I've got the greatest hits of Bond on my iPod. I listen to that, you know, every one. If I mean, going on the way to watch the latest one, I played nothing but that on the journey there.
Yeah.
So I've got everything coming at me from Shirley Bassey and Thunderball. You know that one as well with the dirty trombone. Better Tom Jones. Can't beat it.
Yeah,
But my least favourite, in fact, the Bond theme that I hate the most, and that is the only Bond theme that is not a Bond theme, is that fucking Madonna song. It's not a Bond theme. There is nothing in it that's a Bond theme. It's a fucking pop song. That's all it is. Yeah. Even Duran Duran had a much better fucking Bond tune. Yeah. There's nothing in it. There's no Bondness in that. I can't listen to that. In fact, if I'd never listened to it, right? If I'd never known it was linked to a Bond film, you played that to me, I wouldn't be able to tell. I just think it was a Madonna, like a B-side or something like that. It's not. It's not even a good Madonna song. It ranks down there along with her fucking version of American Pie. It's just shit. It's just.
You hush your dirty mouth.
What?
Bloody American Pie. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm swearing now. Right. I'm just saying. I'm just coming out with the worst swear word. Madonna's American Pie. In fact, do you know what?
American cream pie.
I'm gonna, in like the ranking of people, like you're a cunt and you're Madonna's fucking American Pie. That's it, right? That's how low it gets.
Hey, can I just chip in with another honourable mention?
What, for good or bad?
For good, for really good.
Go on.
And I always think it gets very underrated. But Gladys Knight's License to Kill is a cracker.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
It's a fucking cracker.
Which is a tune that she felt very uncomfortable recording, actually.
Yeah.
Because of the actual implications of it. And I think she took an awful lot of convincing to sing the tune. It's the line where it's going, I've got a license to kill anyone who goes. It's the whole implication of that. The the sort of quite heavy-handed lyric in it. Had it been sung by a bloke, again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a cracker. I mean, it's a Bassey-esque one. I think it gets lost in the sort of like it's just a Bassey copy, but it is so good. But there's another female Bond singer who did a cracking track that always gets underrated because it was dumped the end credits, and that's K.D. Lang's Surrender.
What, at the end of Tomorrow Never Dies?
Yeah, because basically K.D. Lang's song was orchestrated by David Arnold. It was originally meant to be the title song for Tomorrow, and then the record company said we need a bigger star, so they went with Sheryl Crow, which is a massively inferior song. But Surrender is the song that should have been on the opening credits for Tomorrow. It's such a good track.
Cool.
Just one more thing about the Daniel Craig one. Fucking You Know My Name.
Yeah.
Even without it being a Bond tune, it's one song that I never fail to play at least 3 or 4 times in a row as I'm walking on my way to work. It's just that whole thing of...
That might explain your anger management.
Exactly. You know? I just, fucking have it to the throat.
And I have to say, talking about interesting anger management issues, and this is, it's just... this is going into a bit of a long story, but basically, do you remember when I was working at L Street there?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Do you remember the guy, the director, the Gary Geezer, the twat? Anyway, but the thing was... Him. Yes. Well,
this is Dog.
Yes, this is Dog. Hello, Dog. But basically, he had Moby's soundtrack to Tomorrow Never Dies. I always remember it. And we used to go down and see the celluloid print of the film we were making. So we'd go down to the processing company and sort of check it out. And Cineon, I think it was. And basically, he would always play the Moby version of the sort of Monty Norman, John Barry theme. Yeah. And I tell you what, one thing I noticed, and then I started noticing it when I used it myself, because I borrowed the the CD, was it makes you drive like a fucking lunatic.
Yep.
I do like that. And I tell you what, he used to drive, and then he put that on, and I like, Oh God! Oh God! Oh no! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! And it'd be like the Stargate sequence from 2001. It'd just be like traffic lights zooming past in a cornucopia of colours as we're getting red shifting. As he was shooting past. But yeah. But moving on from that really bizarre tangential anecdote, I tell you one of my favourite Bond themes. Firstly, there's On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Oh yes,
which I really enjoy, and interestingly, it's one of the ones which doesn't have any. It doesn't have any lyrics. I think it might be the only one that doesn't have any lyrics.
That's right, yeah.
And it's a massively underrated theme, and it kind of as Danny was saying, it runs through the whole film like most themes. But I also love You Only Live Twice.
Yes,
which is a really great track.
That whole yeah.
Despite the sort of casual racism and Sean Connery with sellotape on the corners of his eyes, I really like that.
I like that as well. Yes.
Die Another Day is clearly the shittest of the Bond films themes, but what I would say, for me, the one that I heard and I just went nope, fuck off, was fucking Jack White and Alicia Keys for Quantum of Solace.
Yeah, agreed.
That was just indulgent bollocks. It was like, Jack White, he does rocky stuff. Chris Cornell did rocky stuff. And Alicia Keys did this New York fucking track with Jay-Z. She'll be great as well. We'll put them together. And it just sounded like two people making two totally different pieces of music. And then just hoping that a theme would come out. It's like suddenly it's like you getting your most played track on your iPod, and then me getting my most played track on my iPod, getting the two artists together and saying, make the best piece of music that Lee and Darren will ever like. It's like, no, it just sounded like a complete mishmash as the fucking, as Queens of the Stone Age try and do a bit of fucking Hans Zimmer. It just would not work. It just would be a complete pile of arse. Well, actually, it could be quite good.
I was going to say, I think you've hit on something.
Yeah, maybe. But
I tell you, if any of the listeners are interested in Bond music, right? A book I got recently from Oxford University Press is called The Music of James Bond by a variety writer called John Burlingame, who specialises in it, and it's really, really fascinating because what you discover in the history of it is that they canvassed a lot of artists to do stuff. Like, for instance, Alice Cooper, no less, did a version of The Man with the Golden Gun that was rejected. And later on, around the time of David Arnold's late stuff, no less than people like the Pet Shop Boys actually did a Bond song.
Really?
And there is actually a whole load of tracks that simply never ever got used. They were just rejected by Eon. So there is kind of like the secret history of the Bond songs of this stuff. If you go onto YouTube, you can find the Alice Cooper track. It's not half bad.
Yeah.
Is it, it's actually out there.
It's actually out there.
I think I'd be very interested to listen to that.
Definitely.
But if you're interested in Bond music, the music of James Bond by Oxford University Press is really, really good.
Why have I got in my head with the Pet Shop Boys? Let's take a ride along with
an Aston Martin
and shoot Scaramanga.
He's a secret agent on a mission. He's got lots of sophisticated toys. There's a rocket launcher in his pocket. See, this is it. We're on one.
Beside his boys.
Next time, if we ever do karaoke, Darren, it's just going to be sometimes there's a gun at your back.
Oh, yeah.
There's a Blofeld at your door.
Yeah. And I'm fucking your crack. Oh dear. Well,
so I'll tell you, the one I'd like to hear that I don't think has ever escaped or was ever even recorded was they approached Kate Bush to do the Moonraker, if I remember rightly, the Moonraker song.
I'm just trying to think of how fucking
Traxie, it's me, Mooney.
As much as I love Kate Bush, I've just got an image of her with a piece of cheese on her head in the video for that one.
Have you guys ever heard the David Arnold James Bond project?
No.
It's basically an album of covers that he did in 1997.
Yes.
And basically, he had loads of people like David McAlmont on it, Iggy Pop.
Yes, I did actually. I had heard this.
And basically, this album, it was something he wanted to do all his life. Basically, it was what got him the job for Tomorrow Never Dies, because at the time he was recording at Abbey Road Studios and George Martin was there. And George Martin had lunch with John Barry and said, have you heard what this young guy's doing with this track's really got great new stuff, new versions of your stuff. So John Barry got sent a copy. John Barry then went to Barbara Broccoli and said, this guy's really hot, you should use him for the next one. And that's how David Arnold got the gig.
Nice. Good, a very nice show reel, I guess.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the version, Lee, you like On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah.
He does like an 11-minute version of On Her Majesty's done with propeller heads.
Yes, I've heard that.
That is so cool. Oh, it's great.
Yes, and interestingly, I tell you what brought it back to me was the On Her Majesty's Secret Service theme was incorporated into Michael Giacchino's soundtrack for The Incredibles.
Oh, right, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Da, 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 da.
Suits that down to the ground.
And it's in The Incredibles. It actually gets a little credit as well. But moving on from the music, and I think we could probably do a whole podcast on just that, just all of us humming away like a bunch of lunatics in sitting down an alley drinking. Let's wrap this part of the podcast up with two three, I guess, key elements that make up Bond still. Firstly, there's gadgets, then there's the cars, and then there's the ladies.
Yes.
Now, I think what we'll do is we'll sort of wrap the gadgets and the cars together.
Okay.
And I'll start with you, Darren. Is there what is your best gadget? What's your worst gadget? What's your favourite car?
I don't know about the worst gadget.
Well, just go for the best one.
The one that I can think of. The one that I always wanted the actual full or the larger sized version of was the White Lotus Esprit from the Spy Who Loved Me.
Yes.
Just because the whole fucking submarine thing and the bullets coming out the back. And it had the fucking little red bullets that you could put in the back of it.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm looking at mine right now.
Oh! And next you're going to tell me you got a fucking Space 1999 Eagle transporter there as well, aren't you?
No, but I have got a little Nelly.
Have you?
Yes.
And that's what I call my anal beads. But no, I have got the...
I'm talking about my penis.
Yeah.
When I talk about my hammer, no. Anyway.
Yeah.
But so the Lotus Esprit from the Spy Who Loved Me is possibly, I think that's my favourite. And for some reason I'm thinking Stormberg helicopter as well, which is the other toy that came out along with it, which is the black helicopter, which also had missiles for it. But
that's just toys.
That's toy, but the car itself. I always remember the bit where it comes out of the water as well. Roger Moore winds down the window and drops a fish onto the beach, and then just drives
for
off.
A waterproof submarine.
Gives it a bit of eyebrow,
and
then that's it. He's off. So I think the Lotus Esprit from the Spy Who Loved Me, my favourite Bond gadget.
And that's your favourite Bond gadget and car and everything all rolled together, yeah?
Yeah. I know the Aston Martin's got a big sort of like thing for everybody, but that to me, I always remember that. It's one of my favourite sequences.
Nice. And what about you, Danny? Is there a car and a gadget, or just a car, or?
Well, I've got a car and a gadget. I think I very much. I mean, I love the Lotus from Spy. That's great. But I also really loved the Aston Martin Vantage from Living Daylights, because at the time I was really into cars, and I just thought it was a really, really fucking sexy car, and also the fact that it had like a sort of turbo boost thing on it was kind of tied sort of weirdly into my memories of Knight Rider, which I thought was really, really fucking cool. And as for a gadget, let's see. I have to say it's not really much of a gadget, but I always just thought that I like the Walther PPK. Now, it's a piece of equipment, Bond equipment, but I always like the fact that even as in films, like guns got bigger.
Yeah.
Like Dirty Harry and like these fucking hand cannons that every fucker had.
Yeah.
That Bond always had a very smart small gun that packed a punch.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was really stylish. And actually, you've noticed that when in Tomorrow Never Dies, when they brought in the Walther P99, the larger gun, but then they kind of steadily went back. And in the Craig films, he actually does use a classic Walther. But yeah, I just thought it was always a fucking cool gun, and I always find it rather disappointing that I couldn't like get hold of one, even as a model, because obviously that would be massively illegal. But I wouldn't obviously condone that kind of behaviour. Although I would Jimmy Savile, obviously. But, yeah, you fuckers thought you got away with it. Fuck you. But yeah, no, the Walther I really like.
Cool. Okay, so Jim, car, gadget, or gadget and car, or just one thing? It's up to you, sir. What's your favourite?
Favourite gadget is probably, I think it was the first one I saw. It was the briefcase full of tricks from Russia with Love.
Nice.
Because that was just that sums up spy gadgetry. You know what I mean? It's an ordinary, boring item. But look, a fencing foil, gold sovereigns, other cool shit. It blows up. It does everything. It's got a Jim will fix it badge in it. It's amazing.
Yeah, Jimmy Savile's seat. Now let's not go there again. And what about the car, sir?
As for the cars, favourite has to be the Aston Martin. Mm-hmm. But favourite Bond vehicle, Little Nelly.
Yeah.
Worst Bond car, the fucking invisible one.
Oh, yeah! Christ, yeah.
No, that is dreadful. It's not good.
No, and the thing that always gets me with that is the moment when he's under fire, and in a situation of high stress. Not only does he manage to drive an invisible car remotely, but he knows where the door is and runs straight into the car. Mm-hmm. It's like you can't even see the fucking thing. How? You can't even, anyway, it doesn't matter.
Actually, talking of the remote control, I do like that sequence in Tomorrow Never Dies where he does the remote control on the BMW.
Yes.
And that he's in the back getting shunted around, and when he's got the hang of how to do it, there's this lovely smile that comes across Pierce Brosnan's face when he just thinks, this is fucking cool.
Yeah, he's just sitting, he's just lying there in the back seat, isn't he, with essentially a PlayStation, basically driving it around, having a bit of a...
it's fantastic. It's a great moment.
Yeah, that is a great scene. I mean, I was going to mention that, you fucker. Now I'm going to have to think up something else. The crocodile submarine from Octopussy.
Hang on, actually, Lee, weren't you going to choose the yellow Peugeot from Octopussy because that actually is the car you used to go cottaging in?
Yeah. We don't call the people who listen to this black doggers for nothing, my friend.
I see.
I have to say, the 2CV from Octopussy. From View to a Kill.
I was right.
I do like the Lotus. I think because the thing was, like you guys, The Spy Who Loved Me was the first one I actually saw at the cinema, and that was just like one of those moments of kind of, oh, how cool is that? He's gone straight into the river, big pause, again, pretty much like the opening sequence. He kind of goes off, the car just kind of hovers, drops into the water, and then it splashes, and you think, oh crap, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's got fucking fins, and it's driving around. It's a great moment, and it's a really nice sequence, and it's kind of when Bond it was just tipping into science fiction just that bit too far, but it hadn't gone completely fucking doolally. As far as gadgets are concerned, I don't know. I for some reason, and I don't ask me why, but I've always had a fondness for his Rolex, which was the buzzsaw from Live and Let Die. When he sort of like fires it off and he's
Handy for DIY, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Handy for DIY. Yeah, because I mean, I've got no other ways of cutting myself to ribbons or gluing my arse shut. No, but yeah, so I quite like that. I'd also like a notable exception. I'd also like a notable nod for the inflatable shark pellet that sent Yaphet Kotto to the ceiling. Salute to that.
Brilliant.
But I tell you what, I also liked was the this again. It's going back to Goldeneye. Maybe I'm a bit obsessed. Why don't I marry Goldeneye? But is the super helicopter, the like the Apache gunship, the one that's sort of that gets stolen at the beginning of the film. It's resistant to the EMP with grenades and all that kind of thing, and it just looked really cool. It was like Blue Thunder but black.
Yeah.
And not shit.
Yeah, and not piloted by Roy Schneider and Garth from Wayne's World.
Tell me you don't watch that film, right? And at the end you don't go, "Come on, you cougar shit!"
Yeah, he's kind of doubling over, being chased by Malcolm McDowell in a completely inferior helicopter. Yeah. But we'll get to Blue Thunder another time.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right.
But, when we do a John Badham double and we do War Games as well, I suppose. Yeah. See, that's coming. But anyway, just to wrap this up, we're going to wrap this up and then we're going to move on to GoldenEye as a second part. GoldenEye, what am I talking about? Stop talking about GoldenEye. Goldfinger. Let's talk about the ladies. Now, obviously, Bond has a thing, a streak of misogyny about 2,000 miles wide. And we're going to indulge that for a second. So,
can I just make a wager right now?
Yeah.
I reckon me and Jim Moon are going to agree on the lady.
So it's Caroline Munro.
We'll let him say.
I just guessed it, didn't I? Yeah.
You shouldn't say these things. You should let him speak and say it. I'm opening the floor to him.
Anyway, moving on. Actually, I will throw it out to Jim straight away.
He's going to say that. He's going to prove me wrong and say the woman with the fucking boot knife. That old. Oh yes.
No, the old lady in Goldfinger who's doing the baking and then sort of like controlling the checkpoint.
Well, she gave Bond an erection.
Good machine gun.
There we go. See.
But anyway, oh God,
with the post thing.
Yeah, I got it. Just shut up.
I'll just go over in this corner.
So go on, Jim. Is there a particular female Bond girl that sticks out? Pardon the phrase.
Well, obviously, all of them.
Especially when it's cold.
But no, actually, the one I was going to go for, and she's got stiff competition.
Oh
shit! See what I did there?
I'm gonna get Sid
from
James
Caroline Munro, and a fleeting appearance from Valerie Leon in Spy Who Loved Me. But I would say it's Barbara Bach as Agent Triple X.
Yes.
And it's kind of it's largely because she is like the female Bond, and teaming Bond up with another female agent is a recurring theme. But the thing is, in nearly every other film, they're all shit. They're all absolutely incompetent. I'm a tough secret agent. Oh, I've took my handbag. Kind of absolute.
Yeah.
Doesn't help the Bond misogyny, chauvinism case in the slightest. But Barbara Bach gives as good as she gets. Particularly, there's a great scene in Spy Who Loved Me where she's trying to start a truck to get away from Jaws, and Roger Moore's just making sexist women driver remarks, and she's just having none of it. And it's they're just the bounce off each other, and it's again, it's that mirror image of Bond. It's interesting to team him up with a female equivalent.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's one for Barbara Bach. So let's move on to Mr. Barnard. Mr. Barnard, your girl, please.
Do you know what?
Or female compatriot.
It's kind of a bit split for me now because Jim's mentioned it's one line Jim said there about pairing up with another agent or a female agent that's equivalent to James Bond, and now one has just kind of went, aha, do you remember this one? And it's like, you saw her very recently. And I have to say, Caroline Munro, of course, is one that I remember straight off. But also, I have to say, I really like Naomi Harris. I really thought she was good.
Yeah.
I thought I liked her character in Skyfall. I thought she was competent. She really doesn't fall for James like, go head over heels. She's kind of, there's a little bit of distance between them, a little bit of play there, but she's just she's a really competent agent anyway in herself, and she really kind of, what she does in it, she gets the job done, I think. I didn't feel as though she was being, it was a patronising female role. It was actually, I thought, now that's a good quality female character. I liked her in it as well.
And there aren't many of them.
Yeah, I think they really, she really got the good end of the wedge there, where female characters is concerned. If you've got the expression.
Got the good end, yeah.
Without getting the good end of the wedge.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So so Caroline Munro and Naomi Harris.
Okie dokie. And Mr. Graydon, sir?
Well, I'm kind of torn on this one, actually, but I'm going to take the romantic angle here and say that Tracy in On Her Majesty's is a great Bond girl. And also the one I'm erring towards is a Vesper Lind in Casino, Ava Green.
Yes.
Because in both those cases, you had very strong independent women who were able to sort of stand up to Bond and match him on the sort of the quips kind of thing. But actually, in both cases, they were so fucking gorgeous, especially Ava Green, that you just sort of thought, I totally buy Bond being in love and being prepared to give up the job for them. Because all the other ones, they were kind of like dollies and like, yeah, I'm clearly going to fuck off in a couple of days kind of thing for the next mission. But actually, especially in Casino, I totally bought the idea of Bond being prepared to resign and give it all up.
Yeah.
Very much so.
But on the romance side, I thought those two actresses totally sold the idea that Bond would love them.
Yeah.
Honourable mention in terms of like where Jim was talking about like a Triple X is like Wei Lin.
Yes.
In Tomorrow Never Dies is kind of like when they cast Michelle Yeoh, they literally wanted to have kind of like a female 007.
Yeah.
Who was not in any way dependent on him at all. It wouldn't have mattered if Bond was there or not. She'd have done business.
Yeah.
I thought she was very, very strong.
Yeah, I go along with that. I mean, I was going to mention Vesper Lind, but I mean, because for me, she's the only one that seems memorable, and even though she did die, obviously, which is something of a tradition.
And isn't that sequence really, really gutting?
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say it's the first. For me, it's the first female character. I guess Diana Rigg in Her Majesty's, but for me, it really didn't. It didn't do anything. I just it felt a bit like the end of Get Carter. Just you see a gun sight, you see someone just fall over, and it's like, oh, right, okay, fine. But
spoilers.
What, for Her Majesty's Secret Service?
No, for fucking Get Carter.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Either way,
got in a bit late for that.
It's 40 to 50 years old, man. Just get over it. But no, as far as it goes, I mean, Vesper Lynd's actual, character interaction and the way it affects the story and Bond, she for me was a Bond girl worthy of the name, as it were. She wasn't just like, oh God, who was that one in oh goodness me, in Never Say Never Again. Oh, what's her name?
Oh, Kim.
Barbara Carrera.
That's it,
Kim
Barbara Carrera.
It's Fatima Blush.
Yeah, and or what's in Casino, Strawberry Fields. What's her name? Always looks like a wide mouth frog with a Judge Hershey haircut. I can never remember her name. Anyway, yeah, but all these characters sort of turn up and they look very glamorous. Jane Seymour in Live and Let Die. They all look very glamorous, and you think, wow. And then they all just kind of simper around, and it is that whole thing of sort of like in Goldfinger, say goodbye to Felix, girl talk, men talk, and just slapping them on the bum and sending them on their way. And I just think Vesper was the only one. I mean, they tried it with Halle Berry in The World Is Not In... Oh, Die Another Day.
Yeah.
They tried it, but it didn't work because, even when it pushed...
was Halle Berry.
Exactly. Well, firstly, it was Halle Berry, who can't deliver lines even if she was a UPS fan. But, at the end of the day, it was like, again, when push comes to shove, she can't escape from a prison made of ice.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so she's just going to have to stay there and wait for Bond to drive through a wall. I mean, it's just like, really? You're supposed to be a secret agent?
What about Velvet Snatch?
I don't mind if I do. Does it come with a cup of tea?
Yeah.
It's the lesser of the Fox's biscuits.
Yeah.
Oh dear, right, okay. So on that note, we shall wrap this up for the first part of the Blackdog podcast Bond special. Join us again for the next part, where we'll discuss Goldfinger at length, I imagine. Sean's length. And and then we'll tell you about what film's coming next week. So, I just at this point, I'd like to thank Danny Graydon for joining us.
Thank you.
And Jim, of course. Jim, you want to do you want to plug your podcast, sir, while you're on?
Yes, can do.
Go on in.
I present Hypnobobs, which can be found on Geek Planet Online.
Yes.
On iTunes and lots of other places too.
Fantastic. I'd also like to thank Darren for staying remarkably awake given the time.
I've been totally engaged all evening. I don't know. I think it's this, the
conversation.
The crack and smack sack that I had before I got on here.
The Nelson Mandela crack and smack bag. Party bag.
Indeed. So,
let's get munted.
Do you like crack? Do you like
smack? Then you will like the Nelson Mandela crack and smack bag. I mean, after all, we've insulted everyone else and we've slandered everyone else. Let's go for one of the leaders of the free world and and just cap it all off.
Yes, why don't we?
There you go. So, join us in the next part, and we'll see you all soon for the second part of the Blackdog James Bond special. Cheers. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.